Okay, good morning. Good morning. Hello, everyone. You have just entered the inaugural National Family Caregivers Conference 2023. Hello, everyone. Good morning. I hope y'all ready because we are. So we're going live, and today is Veterans Day. So we are absolutely celebrating veterans today, right? So I want to give a shout out to some of the vets that's family members that's on the stage. Number one, we have Dr. Lord, Dr. Ethel Lord. Her husband served in the Air Force for 21 years. Major Larry S. Potter. Thank you so much, Mr. Potter. Even though he has passed away, he is still here in the spirit. Thank you so much, Dr. Ethel Lord. Also, we want to recognize Dr. Josephine L. Harris, her husband, Keith Harris, who served in the Army for over 20 years. We also want to recognize Terrence Demps II and Louis Demps for Keith Demp's uncle. These are some of the military vets that have served in the military, and we definitely want to salute them. Also, from my family, I have my nephew Todd Mims, my cousin Charles Wakely, my cousin Doris, and there's others. My uncle Charles Wakely, who has passed away, then my uncle James, then my grandfather on my mother's side, uh, granddad James Wakely. So I'm just trying to remember everyone because they all served in the military for us. So we just want to salute them and congratulate them, whether they're here or not. Can we give an applause for Veterans Day? And so, with that being said, we just salute, right? We salute our veterans, right? We love our veterans, and we will continue to pray for them, whether they're in a reserve or active duty. Thank you so much for your service. Well, this is day two of the National Family Caregiver Conference 2023. As some of you may know, November is National Family Caregivers Month. So we're going to go forth today and just recognize some more of our wonderful speakers. Listen, if you did not see yesterday and watch that video from yesterday on the Global Caregiver Speakers platform on Facebook, we had a phenomenal time. I mean, there was some wonderful speakers that came forth, and today it's even better. It gets better as the day get long, right? In some places, it may be early morning, it may be afternoon, or it may even be the evening. Hello to you wherever you're located. So let me just share with you. I am the founder and CEO of Global Caregivers Network and Global Caregiver Speakers, which was established in 2021. As we go forth throughout the day, get your pen, get your paper, because today is the day that you're going to be educated and informed from our speakers today regarding any caregiver situation that's going on in your life. We know a lot of you are out there, you're burnt out, you're fatigued, you're in isolation, you're depressed, you're feeling some kind of way. We want to bring you information and educate you on things that will help you to get along in this journey of caregiving. So today we have our speakers. Some of our speakers are here. We have more that's coming in later, but we just want to welcome the speakers that we have on the platform right now. So starting off is going to be Mr. Keith and Dr. Katandria Demps, Dr. Ethel Lord, Dr. Iris Wright, Dr. Josephine L. Harris, Dr. Dietrich Gorman, and then we have the wonderful Al Lyman, who's going to anchor us in today. We have other speakers that's coming in. We'll bring them to the platform momentarily. But right now, I want to introduce our first speaker as I have the other speakers go off the stage. So you guys wait in the listening audience, and I'll bring you back up later. But first, coming to the stage, we don't want to delay. It's going to be Mr. Keith and Dr. Katandria Demps. They are not new in this arena. They have been speaking on our platform for over a year now. And every time they come, they bring something different, but it's wonderful because we all need to be educated on caregiving. And guess what? they have a roadmap for you. They have a roadmap for me, caregiver too. And so, with that being said, we're going to introduce the wonderful Mr. Keith and Dr. Catandria. They is just such a cute couple. I just love them. I
Thank you,
just
Sherelle.
love
Thank you,
Dr.
Sherelle.
Mr. Keith and Dr. Catandria. Listen, this is our power caregiver couple. Okay. They're going to stick and stay with me. They're not going, even if they want to leave, they cannot go. Okay. They're here for the duration.
Amen.
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 So
That's right.
listen, they're going to kick off this morning. We love you guys. I'm telling you, I just call them the K and K. They are our dual dynamic powers caregiver couple. So let me get you started here. Mr. Keith is the co-founder of KLD Consulting. He is a telecommunications technician of Orlando, Florida. He's been married to his wife, Miss Dr. Catandria L. Demps. Dr. Catandra Demps is married to her husband, Keith. They've been married for X amount of years. It's been over, what, 10 years?
3.
10
Three.
years or so. That I think they're really like newlyweds. They 2 years.
Three.
Listen, they are new at this, okay? They're newlyweds. So they still celebrate. They're in their newlywed phase. Wonderful. I'm telling you, it's wonderful. The newlywed, just don't let it wear off, right? Always
No.
be
That's right.
newlyweds.
Right.
So
That's
they've
right.
been married for years. And Dr. Catandria is the co-founder with her husband of the KLD Consulting. She is a multilingual, nationally certified speech language pathologist, linguistic certified autism specialist, certified public health researcher, and certified in the practice of cognitive rehabilitation.
Mm.
Dr. Cat is founder and director of the nonprofit Dr. Loves Healthcare. K&K Services, there we go. K&K Services and Dr. Love's Integrative Nutrition and Lifestyle Medicine PLLC. Listen, they are going to share their love and passion for service through cooking, traveling, and the Word of God.
That's right.
Wow. Thank you all
That's
so much for joining us today. They're going to come tell their story, their way, peace, self care, their wellness roadmap to self care and caregiving. Dr. and Mr. Catandria, take it away.
Thank you so
Thank
much,
you,
Sherelle.
Sherelle.
Thank you so much. What a wonderful introduction. My goodness, she
Yes,
is so good.
she is. And we always appreciate the invitation to share our story.
Yes, yes, yes. Well, I am Keith Demps, and this is my beautiful wife.
Cat Demps.
And we are the demonstrators, as we say, we are the KLD Consulting. And what we do as a couple, we help caregivers caregive for themselves without sacrificing their health. So, why do caregivers come to us?
Yeah. So single, married, and professional caregivers come to us for all things caregiver wellness.
Absolutely, that is correct. And so, I want to say thank you all over the world. Thank you, Caregiver Global. Thank you for each and every one of you joining us. A little bit about ourselves and a little bit about what we do. We help caregivers caregive for themselves without sacrificing their life. And what we want to speak with you about today is how to caregive for oneself in the midst of a storm.
Amen.
So, how many know I am from Florida now? Being from Florida, you have hurricanes. And when you're in a hurricane, I don't know if many of us know that in the midst of a hurricane, there's an eye that's in the midst of the hurricane. Well, in the midst of that hurricane, that's where the peace is. And usually at that time, we come out and we go out and in a hurricane and we gather things and look at the damage and assess the situation and then go back in for the back end of the storm. Well, that's what caregiving is in our eyes as the Lord has given it to us in terms of caregiving for caregivers. We do not want to sacrifice our life and our health in caregiving. We want to learn how to have peace, joy, happiness, and the love of God in the midst of a storm.
Yes. And with that comes some practical, tangible things we're going to talk about. I think it's called the self-care
Yes.
wellness roadmap.
Yes,
The
ma'am.
DIMPS
Yes, ma'am.
self-care
Yes, ma'am.
caregiver wellness roadmap. You're probably wondering, what does DIMPS stand for? Are they just being like egotistical, talking about themselves? No, there is a very good reason it is named the acronym DIMPS. And we'll get into that a little further, but I think it's only fair that you understand, what do we bring to the table? Why would you want to hear from Keith and Kat about
That's right.
caregiver wellness? We're not going to be like a major talk show host and tell a parent how to parent their child and has never had a child. So we will take turns briefly talking about our caregiver experience and how we came up with this wellness roadmap and how you can apply it to your life. What takeaways you can immediately start implementing in your life so that you are not caregiving and sacrificing your own health.
That's right. And so a little bit with that, I have been caregiving for my mother when I first met my wife for quite some time, and she has gone on to be with the Lord. But during that time of caregiving, I wish I had something that would help me in my personal life, in my health, in my spirit, as well as in my soul. So we talk about those things in terms of caregiving, as my wife mentioned, as the DIMPS Caregivers Wellness Roadmap. And with that, I wish that there was something that I could do during that time, or someone I can talk to, or a strategy that will uphold me and help me, because Lord knows, in the midst of a storm of caregiving, it can be rough.
Absolutely. It can. It can. And so I too share my own caregiver story. Before I met my husband, I was working full time in healthcare and managing several businesses while taking care of my late great grandmother, maternal great grandmother, my late grandmother, who was a neonatal intensive care nurse for 25 years before she went on to be with the Lord. And during the time that my husband and I were dating, he was caregiving for his family members, and I was caregiving for my parents, who had been in a head on collision in July of 2015. And since that time, they had sustained multiple injuries and required several months of rehabilitation with my brother, triaging them between an out of state hospitalization back to their home state. And so we have had multiple family members that we have caregived for, and they've gone on to be with the Lord. But as a result of those experiences, we've been able to, since Keith and I have joined our union in Holy Matrimony, we've been able to put pen to paper the what we did to caregive for our loved ones while they were in our care, and think about, how can this help someone else? Because a lot of times we get so caught up in our situation that we don't really stop and think, okay, let's be solutions oriented about this. How can we make this not just a testimony? Everyone loves a testimony at church or at a conference, professional conference, but like, what are the nuts and bolts of the how to caregive without losing yourself, without sacrificing your health and becoming burnout?
That's right. And so that will lead us now to the DIMPS Wellness Roadmap. So that last name is spelled DEMPS. Of course, that's our last name. And the first strategy that we want to speak about is development. Now, development, you have to develop a plan. Failure to plan
is a plan to fail.
Yes, it 100%. Is 100%. And that's something that her father preached to us time and time again. You must have a plan. And for us, developing a plan for a strategy for a caregiver is one of the important things in terms of moving forward and caring for self. We cannot be helpful to anyone if we do not first help ourselves. So first part of that D in the first name of DIMP, in the last name of DIMPS, is development. You want to tell them about the second one, sweetheart?
Yeah, so I'm the summarizer. I love to take notes, and kind of bring it all together. So what my husband just spoke of is a plan, right? Develop a plan to your specific situation. So that means you need to think about what your needs are. There needs to be a needs assessment, which we can talk through that offline if you choose to get more specialized help from us. Tailor a plan for your specific needs as you care for yourself and others without sacrificing your own health. And that doesn't have to be a sick loved one. That could be a special needs child. That could be your husband. There are many caregiver capacities that one works in, and it doesn't have to be personal. It could be a professional capacity. Nurses are huge caregivers. I consider them the gatekeepers, and they caregive every. Yes. They work 10-hour shifts times 3 days a week, or sometimes 4. So, think out of the box when we use that word, D as in develop. The second part of the DIMS self-care caregiver wellness roadmap is execute. E is for execute.
That's right. Yes. And that's so important as we execute the plan that we just developed. And with that execution, we talk so much about what we need, things that we might want, things that we desire in terms of caregiving in the midst of the storm. Executing it is very important. Put it into action. As we always say, faith cometh by hearing, and hearing from the word of God. Faith in action is what brings about actions in your life and transparency, as well as a strategy. So the next one that we will talk about is the M, telling us how to maintain in the midst of all of this, how to maintain a strategy that works for us after we execute it, because sometimes we can get off course just a little bit when all of the storms in life begins to happen, when we're pressured on every side. It's like today, to be very transparent with you, after we're done here, we're off to a funeral. We was at a funeral service yesterday. And then most recently, my wife just lost her father, not lost, but her father went on to be with the Lord. And yet we're still full-time caregiving for her, his wife. And so in the midst of all of that going on, we've realized that executing this roadmap, that we have to maintain it. Maintaining really means stay focused, stay centered, stay on track with what you're doing that will help self and maintain self.
Yeah. So just to slow down a little bit, because there's some nuggets of wisdom and knowledge you may be trying to write down. That is an execute. We want you to think about putting your plan into action. Once you have a plan as a caregiver, what is your self-care plan? Not the person you're caregiving for. We're not talking about that individual. We're talking about you as the caregiver. Once you develop it, you want to execute it. It's so easy to talk about these things. Oh, yes. Yeah, I know what the word develop and execute and maintain means. No. Every day we have to, just like we have to fight for time to pray and meditate on the word and check in with ourselves individually and as husband and wife. It is so very easy to look at these plans, these action, these bullet points, develop, execute, maintain, and realize we're really not implementing. We have it in our head, but when the storms come, as my husband explained, are we really executing it? So if you're taking notes, really put a big D and then develop and really think about, okay, what is my plan going to be moving forward after today's second day of this conference? Hopefully you've been getting information since yesterday. As you execute the caregiver self-care plan, reflect, not every month, not every week, reflect daily, just like hopefully you study the word of God or wherever your faith is. Yes, daily. That's right. Reflect daily on your plan and what is working, what is not working. Journal it. If all you do is write yourself an audio, if you don't have time to write it down, or talk to text, an audio, somehow record your successes and your failures, because I guarantee you'll be able to look back and reflect like, oh my God, that really worked. Or, oh my God, I didn't even try that.
Yes.
That's why I'm so frustrated, because I had the plan, but I didn't implement it. So, as my husband just said, the maintain part is, you want to, maintenance is key. It's key to your caregiver wellness plan. It will not work if you don't implement it,
That's
and
right.
it won't work if you're not consistently tweaking it, meaning maintaining it. So think about the changes you may need to make based on changes in your family. We're in the holiday season. We have to think about strategically how we're going to have coverage for when we want to go out and have a spa day or a date night. So it takes planning, and it takes constant rebooting
Yes.
to make it work.
That's right. That's right. And so for our next one, it is pivoting.
Mm-hmm.
Now, pivoting involves, oh my goodness, just what my wife just mentioned. How can one pivot from one thing to the other and still maintain, develop, and also execute?
Mm-hmm.
It's so important being able to pivot in life and not be so settled or stuck in a mundane state of mind.
Yeah.
Rehabilitation, pivoting, going and doing something for self, not doing the same everyday routine of life and saying, oh, okay, what worked yesterday, this is what's going to work for me today. No, being able to be flexible in one's life and saying, Lord, I thank you for this day, but this is a new day that I've never seen.
Yeah.
I don't know what's in store for me, but you know what's in store for me. So being able to pivot in life is so important. As my wife will speak more about that, because Lord knows she knows.
Yes. So let's just face it, we as women, whether we're single, married, professionals, grandmothers, grandparents, we constantly juggle. We have to pivot and strategize. We have to block and tackle. Let's just face it. We're the cleanup crew, right? But we undergird our loved ones, our spouses, and strategy is just what it is. It's putting on the whole armor, right? It's having the toolkit and tapping into your toolkit when you need it. When you need to cut something, you pull out your scissors. So pivoting your self-care wellness plan, as my husband said, don't get in that rut of doing the same wellness plan. Like, we'll switch it up. One weekend we may get a massage. The next weekend we may go to a concert. A couple weeks ago, my husband surprised me and took me to an ice skating event because he knows I love ice skating. Professional. And my sister-in-law, she was almost about to go into being an ice skater professionally, and I would have gone to every event, But I genuinely appreciate how every week and weekend we try to do something different as part of our self-care wellness plan, separate from our date night, because the marriage is something that is totally different, right? You have your time for your spouse, and then you have your time for your self-care, and those are two totally different things. Don't snowball those. It's kind of like having a birthday and Christmas and your relatives like, oh, I'm going to get you a birthday gift / Christmas gift. No, you don't want a 2-for-1. Don't cheat yourself. So make sure that self-care wellness plan is tweaked as needed. So whether it's an upcoming holiday and you're going to have extra responsibilities, making the plan work for you is worth it.
That's right. That's right. It's very important. And so for the last one, for the S, is the source. Oh my goodness. The source is so important. My wife just touched on it just a little bit. In terms of wellness, self-care wellness is so important. What are some of the things that you like as a caregiver that you desire to do for self in terms of wellness, the source of that wellness? She just mentioned manicure, I think pedicure. She did it yesterday. And for me, it may be just shining my head. I don't know what it might be, but for me, have that source of outlet that you have that you do for self on a regular basis. Do not deny yourself, because one of the things about caregiving, we give so much of ourself and we deny ourselves when it comes to taking care of self. Have a source, write those things down, put it in your plan, implement it. I don't care, like my wife and I just mentioned, if you have to go out and get someone to caregive, a sit in for that loved one that you're caring for, do that. Give yourself that 30 minutes, 1 hour out of a day, and then out of a week. Make plans in advance for that. And if it takes turning the phone off just for a few minutes and having that quiet time, if that's what your source is, so be it. If it's reading a book, so be it. Whatever you do, just do it.
Exactly. Yeah, well said. And I can't harp on that more. In the few minutes we have left, we want to focus on you are not the source of everything. You weren't spontaneously created, whether you believe it or not. You didn't just spontaneously get here. There were some resources and materials that had to take place for you to get here. So in order for you to maintain your well-being, you need to tap into your resources and materials. That could be human resources. So professional sitters, family members who will kick in while you go do what you need to do to take care of yourself, tighten yourself up in terms of maybe you need to get your wig split, you need to get your hair done. You just need a minute to go for a walk. We want you to think strategically about even those little things, how you're going to source your self-care wellness materials and resources. And I know Sherelle will give us time later to talk a little bit about the how, but we are more than happy to give you more information at a later time on how to work with us and put this plan into action with personalized coaching. But we hope this information has been helpful to you as you develop, execute, maintain, pivot, and source what is needed to self-care for yourself while you care for others.
That's right. And you can reach us at kldconsulters.com. Again, that is kldconsulters.com. Sherelle.
Thank you, Sherelle.
Thank you so much. We love you, caregivers.
Yes. Have a great day.
Yes, y'all better come on through here. Come on. That was beautiful. Y'all kicked us off right, okay? Y'all kicked us off perfectly. So these are wonderful. Listen, this is our caregiver power couple right here. I don't care what y'all say. They own the team. They're going to stay on the team. They can't leave whether they want to or not, okay? So they just brought the roadmap caregiver wellness for the burnout caregiver. So let me just reiterate while I have you on the stage, okay? So because this is related to me being in nursing. Those in nursing, doctors, we always have to do what we call an ADPIE, ADPIE. And I related it to your DIMPS plan. You say the D is for development, E is to execute, M is to maintain, P is to pivot, and then the S is your source. On the other side, with the ADPIE, we do an assessment, diagnosis, plan, implementation, or intervention, and then we evaluate. Okay, this is nursing all day. So I understand exactly what you're saying, because as a patient comes in, you can take it as a caregiver coming in, and you're doing your initial assessment or evaluation of that patient, right? So every caregiver, I'm telling you right now, connect with the DIMPS, because they have sources and resources to help you. You don't have to be the burnout caregiver. You don't have to be the one in isolation. You don't have to be the one that's sad and oppressed and depressed. I'm telling you right now, there's someone here today on this platform that you can and will connect with. Don't be ashamed. Don't be shy. Connect with the DIMPS. I'm telling you, it'll be worth it. Thank you all so much. Y'all have just kicked this off perfectly. Thank you so much for sharing.
To God be the glory. Thank you.
Sherelle.
Thank you so much. You're doing
so
wonderful.
That was thank you. Wow. Thank you. Oh my goodness. That was just like, I am still at awe. Every time a speaker come and speak, they come with a different perspective on what they're talking about. Life is great. Life is wonderful. Life is what you make it. So the DIMPS, oh my goodness, I just love them. They are our power couple for caregiving. And we're going to just continue to be with them, and all those who's on the platform today, they are bringing something for you. This not even about us. This about us sharing with you about caregiving. Because let me share this. Everyone is a caregiver. If you're a mother, you're a caregiver. You're a father, you're a caregiver. You're a grandmother, you're a caregiver. Auntie, uncle, sister, brother, siblings, you are a caregiver. So you need to hear the stories that's going forth today and connect with me and connect with any speaker on this platform. We are here for you. So next coming to the stage, without further ado, we're going to have the wonderful Mary Beal to come up to the stage next. Mary, let's see if Mary ready. You ready, Mary? Come on through, Mary.
I
Mary
am
L.
ready.
Beal. You with
I am ready.
us, Miss Mary?
I'm ready.
Yes, you
Yes.
are
Can
ready.
you hear me?
We are ready, Miss Mary. Okay, so let me share something about Miss Mary L. Beal. Miss
Yes.
Mary L. Beal, she is possesses a servant's heart and has served as a primary caregiver for two centurions. That means it was two people that she cared for at the age of 100, and a supporting caregiver for countless family members and friends. She is the published author of several nonfiction books, chronologizing chronologizing the lives, among others, is her mother, who passed at the age of 101. Wow. And a family friend who passed at 109 years old. God revealed to Mary her calling to the ministry of helps in 2011 during a spiritual fast. Mary's assignment has led her to become an entrepreneur specializing in consulting in entrepreneurial special, oh, excuse me, she specializes in consulting in health and wellness, advocacy, estate planning, and family for reuniting families and restoring family values. Mary is going to come share her story on One to Reckon with. Mary, take it away. Share your story, because you know what? It was one to reckon with this morning, Mary. So share your story with the people. Thank you so much.
Yes, it was. Yes, it was. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Hello. I am a young senior citizen entrepreneur with a passion for making a difference in the lives of families and especially senior citizens. Do I have your permission to share a true story with you about a force to reckon with? There once lived a phenomenal woman in the Newtown community of Cordele, Georgia, widely respected, highly blessed, and deeply loved by all. She was known as a force to reckon with. But one day, at the age of 93, she found herself in a difficult situation. She fell and couldn't get up. Living alone without any electronic monitoring devices or a reachable landline, she laid in pain for several hours. But in that moment of despair, she did what she knew best. She called on Jesus. That's when something incredible happened. A force beyond explanation took over, and help arrived when she least expected it. Her youngest daughter, Vesta, who lived about 3 miles away, encountered difficulty in reaching her home due to obstacles beyond her control. In that case, obstacles were physical barriers such as road infrastructure and stalled train on railroad crossing streets. Fortunately, Vesta arrived at the Forster Record home in the nick of time to get her transported to the local hospital. After 3 days and nights of medical observation, the social worker and the attending physician discharged a force to reckon with to a rehabilitation facility 30 miles away from her home. Understandably, many individuals may not have the determination and the perseverance that a force to reckon with had. For many people, rehabilitation can be a long and difficult process. It requires a strong support system, both from medical professionals, loved ones, and an unwavering determination to improve. Tolerance can vary greatly from person to person and is influenced by a variety of factors such as age, overall health, and previous injuries. For example, someone who is older or has a chronic condition may have lower tolerance due to weaker muscles and joints. The body's ability to tolerate therapeutic exercises is an important factor in determining the success of a rehabilitation program. Tolerance refers to the level of discomfort or pain a person experiences during exercise and how well they can complete the exercise without adverse effects. Because of her advanced age and her positive disposition, medical staff at the rehabilitation facility found a force to reckon with, delightful to work with. She experienced a speedy recovery within 2 weeks. That experience made me realize the importance of being prepared for emergencies, especially for seniors like Mother. That's why I am now on a mission to encourage electronic monitoring devices and support systems for elderly citizens who lives in their own homes. This fall incident also inspired the family to take aggressive action to hire an individual to perform personal service for a force to reckon with, ensuring that her safety and well-being was constantly monitored. The fall incident was just a prelude to what the family would experience in providing caregiving support to a force to reckon with over the next 8 years of her life. As the world population ages, the demand for caregivers continues to rise. Caregivers provide essential support and assistance to individuals who are unable to care for themselves due to age, illness, or disability. This can be a challenging yet rewarding profession that requires a unique set of skills and qualities. Throughout her life, a force to reckon with, also known as Mrs. Bill, encountered many challenges and obstacles. However, she never let those obstacles stop her from pursuing her dreams and helping those in need. She understood the true value of knowledge and determination and strove to instill those qualities in others. A force to reckon with possessed great wisdom and humor, two qualities that, when combined, created a powerful impact on our lives. While wisdom is often associated with seriousness and deep knowledge, humor is usually linked to laughter and lightheartedness. However, the combination of these two seemingly opposite traits led to an enriching experience for assigned community nurse assistants, sitters, and family caregivers. A force to reckon with also displayed strong spiritual traits and great faith. Often the concept of spirituality and faith, two closely related topics, are often misunderstood and misinterpreted. Spirituality refers to a journey towards self-discovery and inner peace. It is not necessarily tied to any specific religion or belief system, but rather focuses on personal growth and development. People who embark on a spiritual journey seek a deeper understanding of themselves, their purpose in life, and their connection to something beyond the physical world. With the current state of affairs in the world, it is very easy to get caught up in negativity and lose hope. Sometimes it can feel like everything is falling apart and there is no light at the end of the tunnel. In these trying times, it is important to remember that we are all part of a bigger plan, one that is guided by a higher power. A force to reckon with daily demonstrated that her life was guided by a higher power. 2 years after the infamous fall, the Holy Spirit intervened and anointed me to become her primary caregiver for the rest of her life on earth. One may ask, how do I know that I was the appointed primary caregiver? Details will be provided later, another event. But I asked a question. Have you ever been driving and missed an intended exit from a major interstate highway? If that happened today, your GPS would immediately start to recalculate your route until you reach your desired destination. My life took a major detour after a missed interstate highway exit, and the Holy Spirit guided me on a different path, becoming an anointed caregiver. This is not the end of the story of a force to reckon with. The Holy Spirit intervened again during COVID-19 epidemic and led me to perform a welfare check on one of a force to reckon with super senior friends, Mother Lucille Shazer, who was at that time 107 years old. While sitting on Mother Shazer's front porch one afternoon, the topic of our conversation was, who did we know in common? I mentioned a force to reckon with best friend, Lucille Hargrove Dixon. Mother Shazer informed me that Lucille Dixon was her cousin and referred to her by her nickname Horn. I became excited because as I shared with Mother Shazer that I had written a book about my mother and its title was Luella Campbell Beal, A Force to Reckon With. Mother Shazer perked up, then asked to see a copy of the book when I mentioned that a photo of Aunt Lucille Horn Dixon was in the book. Mother Shazer, in response, said, I want to see the book. I immediately drove to a Force to Reckon with home where I resided and brought back a copy of the book to Mother Shazer. She proceeded to inform me that it was through Aunt Lucille Dixon that she first met the Beal family more than 80 years ago, and a force to reckon with, whom she called by her given name, Luella, became her friend. I was intrigued as Mother Shazer scanned through the book and recognized several photos displayed therein. Observing her interest in the book, I asked her if she wanted me to write her life story. Mother Shazer responded, What would you say about me? I answered her with a smile, a whole lot. By providence and the leading of the Holy Spirit, I became Mother Shazer's primary caregiver during her 108th year of life. She was living alone, and a visiting social worker recommended that she reside in a nursing home or assisted living community. Mother Shazer adamantly refused to become a resident in a nursing home. Therefore, she chose to reside with me and my oldest brother in a forced to reckon with home during her last 6 months on earth. She celebrated her last Christmas holidays and her 109th birthday in a forced to reckon with home. She also transitioned from earth to heaven in a forced to reckon with earthly bedroom. Nonetheless, before she transitioned from earth, I wrote and published her abbreviated life story in the book, How to Live Well Past 100 Years. So, our mission is to ensure that no super senior citizen, especially our mothers, have to endure such a situation alone. If you or a loved one can benefit from life saving electronic devices, I urge you to take action today. Together, let's ensure that no one has to suffer alone like Mother did. Visit our website, mlbillconsultant.llc.com, or our email, mlbillconsultantllc@gmail.com. So I just want to thank you and thank Sherelle for allowing me to share with you this story of a force to reckon with. And I lead with my CAT, and my CAT is my acronym for a call to action. Honor the elderly with loving care and affection at all times, and especially during their golden years. It's been my pleasure, and thanks.
Dr. Mary L. Bell. That was definitely a force to reckon with. We thank you so much for sharing your story, Miss Mary Bell, Mary L. Bell, and a force to reckon with. Listen, connect with Mary L. Bell, if you have any situations that's going on related to dealing with a elderly, being an elderly person caregiver, because we know with the elderlies, they have different challenges, right? So definitely connect with Dr. I call everybody Dr. Mary L. Bell. Thank you so much, Mary, for sharing your story with us. And we are looking forward to connecting with you. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Sherelle.
You're welcome. Baby, I'm telling you right now, it'd be a force to reckon with sometime, don't it? Technology and everything can get kind of crazy, but guess what? We're gonna keep this going. We know no distractions. Keep going. So next, coming to the stage, we have the wonderful Dr. Ethel Lord. I want to salute Dr. Ethel Lord. Number one, like I said, today is Veterans Day, and I want to salute her in the stand for her husband, Major Larry S. Potter, who unfortunately has passed away. But Dr. Ethel Lord is here to share with us her what she's going to talk about the 3 steps and thriving as a caregiver. So Dr. Ethel Lord has a master dementia coach and consultant. I'll bring up to the stage Dr. Ethel Lord. Come on up. Come on up. Welcome, Dr. Lord. Welcome, welcome. So Dr. Ethel Lord, master dementia coach and a consultant, founded and the founder and president of the International Caregivers Association, ICA. Dr. Ethel Lord provided dementia care in the state of Maine for 21 years for her husband, Larry S. Potter, who was United States Air Force. He had retired. Previous to providing family caregiving to her late husband, Dr. Lord founded the International Caregivers Association. Remembering for You had a private practice in counseling and was a paralegal for legal services for the elderly. She also is a professor of business. Dr. Ethel Lord, I'm telling you right now, she has a lot going on. She specializes in dementia care. She has a program out called the Caregiver Partnership Agreement Program. And then she also just came out with a model, tell them what it is, transformation, dementia. It's an informative
It's
program that she have going on that she just came out, and it's a model for dementia and your products and services your way. Thank you so much for joining us. Take it away.
Thank you very much for the introduction, Sherelle. It's the transactional dementia intelligence model. It's a business model, the first one in the world, business model of dementia care that I created. It's especially of interest to any administrator of long-term care, assisted living, even home health care as well. I'll speak a little bit about that at the end of my presentation. She did mention, Sherelle, you did mention I wanted to cover 3 steps in delivering superior dementia care. And I'll just summarize them now, and I'll be touching on all 3 of them. The first one is truly to be, if you become a caregiver, please get as much education early as possible. It's as important as an early diagnosis. That way you have tools in your toolbox to work in that area. Otherwise, it's very dangerous to have an empty toolbox or to only have a hammer in your toolbox. So the second thing is to trust your feelings. I will touch on feelings that few people touch on in this presentation. It's really about anger and frustration of caregivers. It's a real thing. And we need to acknowledge our feelings, then we can deal with them. Without acknowledging those feelings, we don't deal well, period. And the third thing is I will talk about the new model of dementia care. It's a business model called a transactional dementia intelligence model. So to start with, get as much education as you can, as I say, because you need to learn how to best care for that person that you're providing care, whether it's a family member or friend. And it doesn't matter if it's a wife, husband, it's all, in the end, it's all the same. So there are qualities that you want to have developed. If not, you want to work on them at least. And I'll name them briefly. For example, to have some patience, to be able to have some compassion and empathy for the other person. And let me tell you, there's good research that shows that when you become a caregiver, your level of empathy increases dramatically. So if you're not empathic, you will be at the beginning, you will be at the end. That's for sure. You also have to have the ability to listen, because people with dementia access their right brain, not their left brain. In the right brain, it's all about emotions and feelings. And so if you're not able to listen carefully to what those emotions might be, that unmet need that you need to discover, you're going to not be able to communicate. There'll be a break in communication. And that's when frustration sets in for both the caregiver and the care receiver. And that's something to avoid, because as it escalates, it can become physical, and we don't want that. And also, you have to develop skills in problem solving. There'll be all kinds of problems on a daily basis. And how do you deal with those problems? And one of the ways to, when you don't have an answer, is to simply say that if you don't have the answer, look for some advice, look for support, look for a support group, share your situation so you can maybe find a better solution for your problem. There are problems every day. And you also have to have the willingness to learn. Nobody knows everything. So it's really important to learn as you go. It's almost like learning on the job if you were working for an organization. There's no difference there. So you're learning as you go. You have to have also some flexibility. People talk about principles and ethics and so on, and sometimes those qualities can actually choke you. You want to absolutely stay flexible, especially in dementia care. And you have to be trustworthy, because what you say and what you do has to match. And you have to be creative. I also say that you have to be a good actor. You have to improvise every day. Are you a good improviser? Something happens. Person tells you it's Easter tomorrow when it actually is maybe Christmas, and you have to be creative. What are you going to do with that information? You go with it first. I always say go with it first, and then after that, the person relaxes, and then you can say something else. And you also have to be service-minded. We heard just a speaker, Dr. Beal, that and also the couple before that talk about service-minded. You have to want to be a giver, not so much a receiver. The person you're serving is the receiver. And so in dementia care, the qualities I just mentioned to you are very important, and you're going to touch on everyone. If you don't have those qualities, you might develop them. If you don't develop them, it's okay. Give yourself a passing grade on that. I want you to know, though, that statistics show that about 33% of family caregivers are actually men. So that's a third. A third are men, and 2/3 are women. And 54% of family caregivers, both men and women, tend to put off any medical concern they may have for their health. They put that off. And that's the most dangerous thing to do, because it all catches up with you in the end. You will develop some sickness, maybe diabetes, heart trouble. It's very serious. So 54%, that's over half of the family caregivers, simply either forget or put a secondary their own health. So a checkup every year, every 6 months is really important. You'll be able to talk to someone and take your vitamins. Vitamins are really important to support your body because there's so much stress. About 65% of family caregivers will miss work if they're working full time. They'll miss work, or they'll actually eventually quit their job, losing their retirement, losing their work, their paycheck even, to stay home full time because it's that demanding. It becomes a job that requires 24/7. So that's a lot. So that leads me into burnout or fatigue. Caregiver fatigue is absolutely real. I can't insist on that enough. Absolutely real. So if you see yourself starting to withdraw from friends or social events that you normally would have liked before, that's number one. You want to pay attention to that. If you have feelings of being tired, even after you sleep all night, or you may be disturbed in the night if you have a 24/7 shift, as I did for 21 years, you do feel tired all the time. Being tired like that, you may end up depressed. You want to pay attention to depression. There are things you can do and also medications that might help you. And you may find yourself to be resentful. That's completely normal, isn't it? With all that I just said, you might be resentful because other people are doing things, even your family members, but you are really stuck. You feel stuck. And therefore, you feel guilty because you know you want to help your loved one or that friend, but then you start to feel guilty. And then you're getting easily agitated. You find that any little thing is bothering you that never bothered you before. You get what they call in English short fused. And when you notice that, you have to slow down and look back and see what is really driving that. That's one sign of the fatigue. And then you may lose or gain weight. In my case, I had gained weight. I've lost my weight now. And I felt extremely isolated. And that's another, I hear that every day from caregivers. Isolation is absolutely the worst. I felt so isolated. I'll give you an example of how I dealt with that. I would pick up the phone and I would call simply any 800 number just to hear a voice. And it didn't matter what they were offering. I would just hear that voice, that recording, and I felt a little bit better. I felt like I wasn't completely alone. So you have to acknowledge any of those symptoms and attribute it to the fatigue timeline. Very, very important. At the end of the timeline, you either burn out, you get very sick, or you could actually die. Over 20% to 30% of family caregivers die before their loved one. So it's serious business. Please stay in touch with that. Stay informed. Talk to someone. Visit your doctor regularly. Join a support group so you can express yourself. You won't feel so isolated. You won't feel you're keeping everything to yourself. And just do some activities as we heard yesterday, and we'll likely hear again today. If you like comedy, go see somebody that does comedy, or call somebody that really makes you laugh. That's important. Those kinds of things. It's called self-care. We heard a little bit about that this morning with our first presenter. So that's the second part the first part that I said I was going to talk to you about, which is educating yourself. That's part of your education. Okay, now I want you to trust your feelings. That's really important because when we feel something, either we feel it through intuition or we literally feel it. Acknowledge that and accept that for yourself because you're human. and you're going to have feelings, and that's very important. Um, we know that there are millions, over half, 54 or 53, 54 million Americans are caregivers, and about a third of these people spend 20 hours or more a week providing caregiving to someone else, which is very demanding for them. And if they continue to do that, eventually they go full time. So I wanted to talk about anger and frustration because it's a real thing for family caregivers, and it's a natural thing. Forgive yourself, please, if you find yourself that you have unmet needs, just like the person you're taking care of, and you can get angry and frustrated. What I did with that, I just simply would retire to my bathroom, put the fan on so it was loud, and my husband couldn't hear me scream. And I would simply scream. That's a wonderful way to release it. So, because the stress of family caregiving 24/7 is truly monumental, and it never stops. You get up in the morning tired, and you go to bed tired, and many times you're alone with that. You're alone with the person you provide care for, and you're alone because people tend to stay away from you. They're afraid of being asked to help. So anger and frustration is a real feeling, and you're entitled to have it. You deserve it. So my husband lived with vascular dementia for 21 years after diagnosis. He was sick before that, but 21 years of really being his caregiver. So I was his caregiver. He was my teacher, because only the care receiver in dementia care is truly the expert. I'm not an expert. I was there to learn from him, and I paid close attention to what he was teaching me. And I want to tell you that a lot of people that I have spoken to truly admit that they do not love the person they care for. Either they've been abused by them when they were younger, something has happened. Let me tell you what I usually advise them to do is to recognize that they were hurt by the actions of the other person. However, this is the time to resolve this before the end of life. So if you take it seriously, you have a chance to resolve that, and it's no longer a burden on your heart and your soul. So that's important to do. And the first year is usually your most chaotic year of caregiving because it's so new. And let me tell you that 20, 25 years ago, we didn't have the resources we have today. Today, there's so many books. There's this program here. There's support groups that are very active. We had a speaker yesterday, Caregiver Dave, that's extremely positive. And that kind of interaction and meeting with you is just uplifting. I mean, what a wonderful thing to do now. But in 20, 25 years ago, there was nothing. It was very hard to find help and find good ideas. And that's when I started to do research. And as a result, I created the International Caregivers Association to help to support people anywhere in society. I wanted people to know more and not to feel as isolated as I did. So we know that, to return to my subject, is that long-term caregiver stress is really tied up to health issues. You want to be very careful because physical effects of stress is horrible. There's also a mental effect on you, and maybe even a spiritual one. Some people will give up. And so we don't want that to happen. I want you to get more education, more support, especially that will help you. And there's no danger then. You're not alone. The worst thing is to be alone because you only have so many solutions to problems. And other people may bring something that's really exciting to you, makes sense, and is valuable. So when I was taking care of my husband for 21 years, I paid very close attention to what was going on and what kind of services were available to him, especially after he went into assisted living, because we lived in the country and he was getting depressed, and his doctor said, you need to put him where there's more people. So I put him in assisted living, where he became very much happier. And but I watched everything. I watched the services they were giving, and then he went into skilled nursing, and I watched all that as well. And what I discovered is that people are still being warehoused in those long-term care facilities, most of them, not all of them, but most of them. And that was not acceptable to me. And so I began to think, how can I change that? How can I bring some new ideas in that field or that industry that would help my husband at the time and will help others in the future? So at the time, here I was all by myself. I developed this program, this model, and I applied it myself in 3 different facilities. And I noticed the difference. It was very important to pay attention to details in that case. And my computer went off. I don't know if you still hear me. So I developed a program called the Transactional Dementia Intelligence. Yes, here I am. Okay, I'm sorry, I lost the picture for a moment. And so here I'm back. And I called it the Transactional Dementia Intelligence because I noticed that there was no understanding or communication between the care provider and my husband and other residents. And I thought that was really odd. I didn't know how they could really pay attention to that population if they didn't have communication. So let me tell you a little bit about the Transactional Dementia Intelligence. From an organizational structure to frontline interactions, the Transactional Dementia Intelligence propagates dignity, relationship, and human potential. This benefits care providers and recipients equally. Early adopters are already seeing game-changing outcomes. So how does it work? The Transactional Dementia Intelligence trains all staff in specialized expertise on supporting those with dementia. That's from the owner or administrator down to the janitors. Everybody gets training. This imparts the dementia intelligence of the program, how to engage creatively as logic fades and intuition flourishes. Caregivers learn to validate emotions, redirect behaviors compassionately, and foster meaningful bonds within each interaction and transaction. The use of the term transactional indicates that for the first time, dementia patients are truly listened to and can respond to, using a dialect caregivers and patient both understand. So the magic lies in a pioneering new role, the dementia coach. This supervisor oversees organizational-wide adoption of the transactional dementia intelligence, provides ongoing training and support to everyone in the organization, including family caregivers, and ensures protocol compliance. Revenue previously leaked via staff turnover is reinvested into everlasting care practices. So it's a very attractive program for anyone who's in the business of dementia care. And if you want more information about that in more detail, you can go to the International Caregivers with an S association.com. You can also contact me at lordetel@gmail.com or through the website. So please do not hesitate. It's really important that we change the course of dementia care based on all my experience and what I know and what I have written about. I can tell you this is truly model that needs to replace the obsolete model that we're using now. It's inhumane and we need to change it. I need your support. So if in your country, your town, you need some changes, please contact the International Caregivers Association and help. We'll need your help because we can't do it alone. Everybody has to help with this. Thank you very much for this program. Thank you, Sherelle.
Wow. No, thank you, Dr. Lord. You know what? I hope y'all caught all of this because I know I did. We know for sure, Dr. Lord, thank you so much for this presentation because dementia is on the rise. Let me say that again. Dementia is on the rise. I know everyone in this audience knows someone that has dementia. It may not be full blown, but they are showing early signs of dementia,
Mhm.
Alzheimer. And so Dr. Lord has this wonderful model that she has come out with. And mind you, she's been doing this for years. She's a researcher, right? The
Yes.
International Caregivers Association has not just got started. It's been out there. But this is the thing. People don't know what they just don't know. If you don't know, you don't know. However, when you research, like Dr. Lord is doing on this dementia, which it takes all steps, she's talking about a lot of things right now. In order for you to get the help that you need, reach out to Dr. Lord. She has a wonderful program set up. She has coaching programs set up. We need to be proactive in the community. This is it. Our family members don't know what's going on. They have dementia, so we have to be proactive and step in for our family members, right? And the
Yes.
thing about the dementia, the part of the brain has already been affected. So what do they do with dementia? They just slow down the progression. It's already there. And guess what? Dementia patients are becoming younger. It's not an age thing anymore. It used to be 60, 65, and
Mhm.
70. They would have these diseases. Now, with everything in the environment and the food that we're eating, it's changing. The trajectory of dementia is changing. The aging process, the risk factors are changing. Everything is changing. Connect with Dr. Lord. She has some wonderful information. I love her because she's a researcher. She's doing all the fundamentals for me. So, Dr. Lord, I would be on your team because dementia, I see so much in the hospitals. And like you mentioned, you may have mentioned it or you may not. The diagnosis is not per se, quote unquote, dementia. They're using different technologies for dementia now. So
Mhm.
connect with Dr. Lord. She has a wonderful program set up. I'm going to connect with her. Put it in the chat. Someone put it in the chat on Facebook in the Global Caregivers speakers your information. We'll get in contact with you, Dr. Lord. Put it in the chat. So, Dr. Lord, thank you so much for your time. Thank you for coming in and sharing your information, along with all of the other speakers that went forth already. The cats, excuse me, Minister Keith and Dr. Katandra Demps. Thank you. Thank you also, Mary L. Beal, for coming forth, and then Dr. Ethel Lord for capping us off for this first segment of the National Family Caregivers Conference 2023. Connect with each other. Put your information in the chat box. Thank you so much as we take a break. But hold on a minute. Let me give you some information before you take a break. Thank you so much, Dr. Lord.
Thank you. Thank you for.
There you have it. Okay. So you heard it from Dr. Lord. What's going on in the dementia world? It's changing. The trajectory of dementia is changing. Everything around us is changing. We as a people have to adapt to the change. Now, let me just say this. We're going to take a break and we're going to come back with the second half. We're going to kick that off. But before we take a break, I just want to let you all know that you have entered the inaugural National Family Caregivers Conference, November 2023 edition. We have been doing this for the last 3 years virtually, but guess what? We about to kick this thing off live next year, y'all. We about to listen. I'm about to talk to. We about to talk the talk now. We about to take it to the streets, as they say. Listen, you gotta have fun with it, right? We're gonna take it live. Come next year. Listen, stick and stay. There's more information for you to receive. This is just the beginning of what God has in store for us. If you want to know me, I am Sherelle D. Mims. I am the founder, visionary, and the CEO of Global Caregivers Network and Global Caregiver Speakers. We are on the Global Caregiver Speakers Platform on Facebook. Please go over there and comment and share what you have learned from the 3 speakers that went forth already. What have you learned? Connect with us. We have things that's going on for the future. 2024 is not going to be the same without the Global Caregivers Network and Global Caregiver Speakers. Catch us after break. We're going to take a 10-minute break, and we'll be back on the flip side with more of our dynamic speakers. Thank you so much. Come back in 10 minutes. It's been wonderful. We're going to keep this thing going. It is wonderful. This is get some commercials going.
Meet John L. Webb Jr., founder of...
See you in 10 minutes. Welcome to our global family, where our lineage is not determined by DNA, it is determined by our relationship and our love for one another.
Hello world, wake me up to another good morning, time to go. Oh, we are all looking for adventure. 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 We are all looking for adventure.
Welcome to our global family. Welcome to our global family, where our lineage is not determined by DNA, it is determined by our relationship and our love for one another.
Every day when she came home, she pretty much worked where cooked food most of her life, and she always made sure that the kids that was attached to the family had pretty much had something to eat every day.
My profession was my ministry. I feel if you can't get to the heart of a student, you can't teach them very well.
We were all raised by you all, and we learn from you all, and we act very much similar to our parents.
Dave Nasani, the caregiver's caregiver, has just released his 6th book entitled It's My Life Too, Thrive to Stay Alive as a Caregiver. It was specifically written for caregivers who know they should be putting their needs first, but just don't know how. Dave is the sole caregiver to his wife, Charlene, since 1996. He knows firsthand what caregivers are going through, because he is one. He now speaks all across the country, offering caregivers his amazing caregiver support package. Even the airlines tell us that in the event of an emergency, to put your oxygen mask on first, before you help your child with their mask. They know that those who don't heed their advice often black out, thus becoming unable to help either themselves or their child. And caregivers are exactly the same way. It's My Life Too, Thrive and Stay Alive as a Caregiver will help caregivers who are neglecting their sleep, diet, and social life and learn to put their needs first. Pick up your copy today or buy one for your special caregiver, on sale everywhere and at caregiverdave.com.
We are back. It is exactly 10:30 to the hour. We're getting ready to get started with our second half segment here of the inaugural National Family Caregivers Conference, the November 2023 edition. Listen, if you missed the first half, please go back on the Global Caregiver Speakers Facebook page and watch it. We have some phenomenal speakers that came forth already. I'm just excited to say this is our third year of doing the conference. And just to give you a little idea about me and what's going on, as we prep for our next speaker, Dr. Josephine L. Harris will be coming up next to the stage. So I am Sherelle D. Mims. I am the founder, visionary, and CEO of Global Caregivers Network and Global Caregiver Speakers. The network was started in June of 2021, and the speaker platform came about. The Global Caregiver Speakers came about in on Christmas Day, 12/25/21. And so, well, what does all of this mean? We know that caregivers have a voice and our voice matters. This is where the Global Caregiver Speakers Platform came in. Listen, I listen to my colleagues. I'm a registered nurse for 20 plus years. I stopped, because nursing have just changed tremendously. However, I am still on the battlefield. Why do I say battlefield? Because the things that are going on around us and in the world, and especially in the healthcare, has tremendously changed. I'm on the battlefield. Number one, it's my passion. Number two, I love what I do. Number three, I have been called to do this. You have to be called to do certain things. If you have a struggle in doing things, then you may want to reevaluate what you're doing. I do this with passion. I do it because I'm concerned about people, and it's my calling. So those of you that's in the healthcare industry, you know exactly what I'm talking about. Those of you in mental health, those of you that work in the nursing home, assisted living, dementia care, memory care facility, assisted living, you understand where I'm coming from. And this program today, this conference is dedicated to you because caregiver voice matters. I cannot emphasize that enough. Do not go mute with your story. Come and share your story. I will give some information later on another event that we have coming up for 2024. Continue to write with your pen and paper because I'm telling you, the second half is about to blow you out the water just as well as the first half did. So I'm gonna put a pause right there, or a plug, as they say. Okay, and we're gonna keep this thing going. So next, coming to stage, bring up the wonderful, dynamic speaker, Dr. Josephine Harris,
Hello.
Josephine L. Harris. She's not known to speaking. Hey, Dr. Joseph, Dr. Joe, how you doing?
I am blessed yet fabulous.
You ready? So let me
Yes,
give
ma'am.
you. Yes, come on through, Dr. Joe. So this, y'all see, she ready, right? So she definitely coming to with the fire. She got her hair, she got her hair going. She ready. So Dr. Joe, let me give you a little information on Dr. Joe. So Dr. Joe is a modern day superhero. Are not the ones that we familiarize with in motion pictures, but rather the essential professionals. Dr. Josephine Harris is a veteran. Today is Veterans Day. I salute her. She's a military spouse. But I told her, you might as well be in the military, baby, because if you're the spouse, you're in the military. So she's a military spouse, though, of her husband, Keith, who has been in the Army and served for 20 years. And we thank you so much, Keith, for your service. She is also a mental health expert, an international best-selling author, 14-time best-selling author with Amazon, a serial entrepreneur, a global speaker. She is the president of the Herpreneur Network. Dr. Josephine have an extensive, impressive bio. But one thing I want to let you know, Dr. Harris' mantra is simple. She says she is inheriting spouse. She facilitates them all. Let me say, she facilitates for them all in an opportunity of hope, whether it be through transformational speaking, messages, or just a professional. Dr. Harris was born to encourage, she was born to motivate and empower women of culture, of all cultures. Dr. Harris, we're going to let her share her story her way. She's going to come and talk about the silent struggle. Are any of you struggling in silence? I bet you are. I bet there's a lot of you out there struggling in silence. Dr. Harris is here to help us. Dr. Josephine Harris is going to come share her story her way, and she's going to talk about the silent struggles of mental health wellness. Thank you so much in her perspective. Thank you so much, Dr. Joe. Tell your story your way, and you have the stage.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you, Minister Sherelle. I really appreciate you inviting me to your platform. As you know, as she introduced me as Dr. Josephine Harris, you may call me Dr. Joe. I am the founder of Common Minds LLC, as well as the president of the Herpreneur Network. Today, I'm going to really talk about the silent struggle from a mental health perspective, whether a caregiver going through depression, fear, anxiety, isolation, exhaustion. One of the things is caregiver depression is one of the today's silent health crisis. Let me repeat that. Caregiver depression is one of today's silent health crisis. Don't you know 20% of family caregivers suffer from depression? That's twice the rate of the general population. Caregivers are not depressed because they're providing the care for their loved ones, but in an effort to give the best care possible to their loved ones, they sacrifice their own physical, emotional needs. I'm going to repeat that. Caregivers sacrifice their own personal, physical, and emotional needs. I'm going to say that one more time. Caregiver sacrifice their own physical and emotional needs. And as a result, they become angry, they have anxiety, they become sadness, they even isolate themselves from the world, and sometimes they become exhausted. They also have guilt for having these feelings from taking, which was take a toll on their mental, emotional, and ultimately causes physical health. So while caregiving often have faced many challenges, I'm gonna be transparent. I'm also a caregiver for my father, and he has dementia. And I'm a traveling caregiver, which is totally different because I stay in the state of Washington and he stayed in Georgia. So oftentimes we as caregivers have to travel to our loved ones, whether it's far, near, whether they live by you, whether they live in another state. But for me, as a traveling caregiver, I also can be suffering with silent depression. And when I came up with this topic of silent struggling, I was thinking about how does that affect our mental health today? So with my story, and I come from a mental health perspective, I'm a caregiver who travels back and forth to Georgia every so often. So when I first found out and dealt with my father as having earlier dementia, I had to recognize and understand my mental health is important as well as his mental health. So I had to deal with my mental health as a professional as well as a caregiver. So I had to often go back and forth to Georgia so that I can make sure that his needs are met. So I had to really search for a caregiver that can step in when I'm not in the presence of I'm not in the presence of him. Because I stay in Washington State and he stays in Georgia, I had to really delegate some of that time to another caregiver that can come into the home and help me out while I'm not there. So I'm gonna give you some really good techniques that's coming from a mental health perspective of what you should do in dealing with your mental health and going through the silent struggle, which is depression, which can take a toll on your mental health, emotional health, and physical health. The number one thing you really have to do, you have to assess where you are now. You really have to assess where you are now, because that's going to really help you go through the motion of understanding why I'm becoming depression, why I become depression, why I have the depressed modes. So you have to evaluate, how are you doing today? Know where you are, know where you stand emotionally and mentally. Take a moment, find a quiet place, and take that caregiver self-assessment. When I mean caregiver self-assessment, I mean assess your whole mentally and physically mind. Assess your body, assess your mentally and emotional. How are you feeling today? Are you feeling sad? Are you overwhelmed? Do you need some help? And seek the guidance and help that you need, because you have to really reflect on your feelings, of how honest your feelings are. What are those feelings? Are you stressed? Are you do you need the help that you need? Do you need to seek professional help? So honestly, seek out those feelings. Be in tune with your feelings. How you feeling today? How you feeling tomorrow? What about the next day? How are you going to plan so that you can assess how you feeling in the now? The next one I'm going to talk about is make time for yourself. A lot of us, like some of the other speakers said, make time for yourself. A lot of us don't really think about ourselves, and we become overwhelmed. And then you start to feel, like I said, you have that silent struggle of depression. You fall into the depression state where you don't want to be bothered, where you isolate yourself from everybody. And then if you're depressed, how are you going to help someone else? So you have to really recognize making time for yourself. And let me tell you, it's not easy, but it's a must. Making time for yourself is a must. Taking time away from caregiving to maintain friendships, social contracts, social network, professional network. So have that time that you make for yourself, that you seek the help that you need, that you can also implement family members to help you out as well. So you guys can put each other on the schedule of which one's going to help out this week, which one's going to help out next week, and so forth. Pursue hobbies. Get them hobbies and activities that you enjoy, because sometimes when we be silent and it becomes a struggle for us. Sometimes we isolate ourselves from the world, from the social environment, so from the social network. But most important, get that social network in your life. Exercise regular. Now, this is a big challenge for a lot of caregivers. We really neglect our health, our exercise level. One of the most important things is that exercise, because that's going to help you to relieve a lot of tension in your body, to get back healthy. And think about it. We all have genetics that trickle on down to us. So being healthy will prevent those. Do preventative medicine, being healthy, taking care of your health. Like you go to the doctor to take care of your physical health. You can go to a mental health professional to take care of your mental and emotional health. Another thing, get plenty of sleep and rest. Plenty of sleep or rest, like the other speaker said, plenty of sleep and rest will help you, because if you're not well rested, some of these can be affected by your mentally and emotional status and your mental and emotional stability. And sometimes you get so drained that you become mentally drained, that you don't have enough energy to even care for your loved ones, to even care for that friend, to even be a caregiver to yourself. Because most important thing is that we have to look at our mental health, our physical health, our emotional health. So make sure that you in tune with all of those. Find activities that bring you joy and restore balance in your life. One of the things that I deal with my activities, I love to write. So I'm a writer. As you know, I'm a best-selling author. That's one of the things that I enjoy. I enjoy writing, and I enjoy writing affirmation. That's what brings me joy. So you really have to find something that you enjoy doing. So that's making time for yourself so you don't lose that joy while caregiving for your loved ones, because caregiving is the most difficult things to do. And we go through it all the time, whether you care for your loved ones, whether you're a grandmother, whether you're a mother, at some point you are a caregiver. So making sure that you get the rest and the sleep that you need is very important. And one of the most important ones that I dealt with is protecting that peace. You have to really, really in tune protecting your peace. Avoid negative people, negative activities, avoid negative situation that cause you stress. One of the things I deal with is I practice mindfulness meditation and mindfulness exercise. My mindfulness meditation, my mindfulness exercise is prayer and reading my Bible. So I spend time with the Almighty God that really, really tunes my mental health, really put me in a place where I am at peace and where I protect my peace so that I can be the best caregiver for my father, I can be the best caregiver for my grandkids, as well as the caregiver for my husband. Because as you know, being a military spouse and going through very obstacles in our life is very difficult for us as well. Believe it or not, at one point, if you have a military that's a soldier member that's serving in the military, at one point in your life, you're going to be their caregiver. Whether they retire or whether they continue on with their career, you still are going to be their caregiver, because sometimes as being a military spouse, we deal with a lot of mental health within the dynamic of the family, like PTSD, anxiety, depression. So sometimes we as caregivers, we have to recognize the signs and the symptoms of being a silent struggle with depression. So be careful with that. Make time for yourself. Protect your peace, understanding your feelings. Have a sense of humor. That is the most important thing. And you know, I do have a sense of humor. My smile, and I am yet fabulous. Yes. So have that sense of humor. Get some laughter, because laughter is the key to a very sensible soul. Laughter is the key to your soul. So get some laughter to protect your peace in the dynamic that you are in. The very last thing that I really want to really point out is establish a very positive support system. Finding someone that you can talk to with about your feelings, letting those feelings go, and making sure that you feel those feelings, letting them go is very important with a strong support system and network to cope with different challenges that you might be going through as a caregiver. Making sure that you can consult with a mental health professional if needed, making sure that, because sometimes we have a stigma on searching for a professional mental health professional, because it's stigma that we are caregivers, and most of the time people don't understand that mental health people in your life is there for a reason. So seek out the professional help that you need, because most important, they are going to help you navigate through the challenges and navigate through the struggles that you're having and the reality of caregiving, because it's okay to not be okay sometimes. But guess what? You don't have to stay there. You don't have to stay stuck. So seek the professional help that you need in order for you to be the best caregiver and to be the best version of yourself. Become acquainted with support resources. Get some support resources. Develop a community of caregivers in your community. Get some supportive resource within that community will help make you the best possible caregiver of them all. So develop a strong support system with a network of friends. Sometimes with caregivers, we take on so much and don't understand the importance of a support system and delegating. Sometimes we think that other people's cannot help us, but let people help you. If they offer their help, accept their help, because that's very important, because they're supporting you as a caregiver. So help them to help you to be the best version of you. Also, network with your family members. Some family members will step in and help you trade out places and come sit and come visit your caregiver, visit your loved ones who you're caring for. Make sure that you can count on them. Make sure that y'all have a plan of support network system. Make sure that you have a network system of resources for your loved one. Sometimes if your loved one can go out the house, get out the house, give them a network of resources, give them to a community that will help them so that they won't be stuck in the house. Like they have elderly care that comes to the house, or they have activity that you can go to a organization or the facility with other people their age. So give them that opportunity so that you can be the best version of the caregivers as you are too. Look to connect with other caregivers, build that relationship, maintain positive relationship with exchange support. So sometimes we tend to veer away from letting other caregivers help us and connecting with other caregivers. But the most important thing is getting connected with other caregivers, getting the resources, because they might have the resources that you need and you might have the resources that they need. These are a few suggestions that will help you through your caregiving world, that will help you through your mental health world. And don't remember, you don't have to be the silent struggler. You don't have to silent struggle by yourself. You don't have to struggle by yourself. So it's help out there and be the best caregiving version of yourself. Remember, your mental health matters. Your mental health really do matters. And thank you all for listening and appreciate it. And I do appreciate Minister Sherelle giving me the opportunity. And you can find me on all social media as Dr. Josephine Harris. My website is www.commonmindsllc. Don't forget, remember, your mental health matters. Thank you. And y'all have a wonderful and blessed morning and afternoon wherever you reside at. Thank you.
Come on through, Dr. Joe. Come on through. Yes, Dr. Joe. Listen, I hope there's no one out there struggling in silence with this mental health. And you know what? She has the perfect business, Calming Minds, LLC. We have to have our mind calm, right? So, Dr. Joe, thank you so much for that. But I do want to reiterate something that she said, right? Because I work in the mental health spectrum as well. We do know that mental wellness is not where it needs to be at. We know this for a fact. There's a lot of people that are, like she just said, suffering in silence, struggling in silence, and people are just not reaching out to them. We want to say, "Oh, that's the crazy one in the family. Oh, that we don't want to be bothered with him." Listen, don't throw away people. Do not throw away people. God would take that same person that you calling crazy cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs and use that person for his glory. So don't ever just say they crazy and throw them away. Find out what's going on with them. Yeah, we know they may be on medication. They may have a mental challenge, but have you ever just sat down and talked with them? Or is it just easier to say they crazy? Don't nobody want to be bothered? That will push a person back into their shell of silence and depression and oppression and suppression. We as a people, just like Dr. Joe said, we have to be able to stand up and do things for others when they're not able to do it for themselves. And mental health is a silent struggle. A lot of people don't talk about it. What do? We shun it and we put it under the rug until something happened. And then little JoJo, now we got a problem with little JoJo because she didn't want to shot up the school. But mind you, you've seen the signs before it even got to that point. Did you reach out to him? Did you even say anything to the person? So let's be mindful and let's be conscious and let's be sensitive to the mental health community. There's a lot going on with people now. Things have changed. Everything has changed. The world has changed. So let's be sensitive to those that's struggling in silence with mental health. Okay, y'all heard me. That's my story for today, Dr. Joe. You know, I get sensitive with the mental health because it's just so much going on. You know, they going out and they doing things and they acting out. That acting out is a way of that's how they coping.
Yes.
Because they act out. So let's be more sensitive to the people around us, especially when we know they're having a mental health challenge. Okay, that's my story, and I'm sticking to it. That's just a little story I just told. But Dr. Dr. Joe just shared her story on the silent struggle and from a mental health perspective. Dr. Joe, thank you so much for that. Reach out to
Yeah.
someone. It's someone today that needs you to reach out to. Thank you, Dr. Joe. And stick and stay, because I want you all to come up at the end and give some words of wisdom. Okay. All right. There you have it. There you have it. I am just a sticker when it comes to mental health as well, because a lot of us deal with this and we don't say anything. So I can go on and on about that mental health wellness, mental health challenges, mental health silence, but we got to keep it going. So stick and stay, my speakers, because I want you all to come up at the end. We're going to do our finale that's coming up soon. I want you to give some words of wisdom and inspiration and motivation to the caregiving community. We're all dealing with something. I'm not exempt. You're not exempt. We're not far from being one step over the edge, right? So let's be real with each other. Let's help one another. Let's support one another. Okay, so that's my pet peeve. Let me keep going. So we have next coming to the stage is the wonderful Dr. Iris Wright. I'm gonna bring Dr. Wright on up to the stage. She's ready. Come on up, Dr. Wright. Thank you so much for joining us, Dr. Iris Wright. This young lady here,
How are you?
she has been busy. We are fantastic, my sister, Dr. Iris Wright. She's been busy. She's been on the field. She's been getting awards. She's doing her thing her way. So let me just tell you a little bit about Dr. Iris Wright. She's a serial entrepreneur and the owner of Caring Hearts Telecare, Caring Hearts Birthing Services, Caring Hearts Foundation, Caring Hearts Telecoach, Rights Virtual Services, Rights Holdings, and the author. And she has a real talk radio talk show now. She has been married to her husband for 12 years. They have a blended family of 6 children. They're from Delaware, but they moved to Newport News, Virginia now. 4 years ago, they were seeking change. That's what I'm saying. It was time for a change. At the early age of Iris was always enthusiastic about helping other people and knew she would be an entrepreneur. In early 2019, after reading Steve Harvey's book, Jump, come on, Iris quit her job, took the journey to become an entrepreneur and open Rights Virtual Services. January 2021, her dream became reality when she opened the Caring Hearts Senior Living. They closed due to the change that was made for the staffing shortages, Medicare, and COVID. However, July 2022, their virtual and hybrid home care services, Caring Hearts Telecare, was launched. Dr. Iris, she has an impressive bio. Connect with her. She have a lot of things that's going on. She can help you in different areas of your life. I'm gonna let Dr. Iris Wright come share her story her way as she talk about surviving CNA in a long-term care. She went from being a CNA to being a boss entrepreneur. That just goes to show she had all these skills inside of her that she's birthed, and now look where she's at now. She's on the excuse me, conference for the National Family Caregiver Conference for 2023. Iris have received a lot of awards, so she is really doing the thing. So I just want to give you kudos, Iris. This is her first time on the platform, Dr. Iris. So go ahead and share your story your way, Dr. Iris. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Thank you so much, Ms. Cheryl. My name is Dr. Iris Wright. I am the owner of Caring Hearts Telecare. I found my passion. So I'm gonna tell you a little bit about my story. I found my passion about 14 years ago as I became a CNA and worked in long-term care. And what I've seen in long-term care, I did not like and wanted to create some change. And I was able to do that with my home care services. But during that journey, not only was it was hard for us on the floor as staff, the whole environment of being working in long-term care was very hard, especially for CNAs. So I'm going to talk a little bit about it, and then I want to tell you guys a little bit things if you have a loved one that is in long-term care services, what to look for, because often as a CNA, because a lot of people don't really look at us when we work in long-term care for some reason as caregivers, and we are caregivers. We don't just care for one people. It's times that we go into work where we're caring for 20 to 30 people. And it's times that something comes that we are not able to do, and that the residents do not get everything that they should get. Um, and that's not totally against the staffing and CNA aspect of it. It has a lot to do with laws that needs to be changed in certain states, and it has a lot to do with the facilities shorten us in staff. All right. So one thing I would tell people is one CNA cannot take care of 20 to 30 residents at one time, and it be effective. Okay. It'd be effective, and it'd be with good, great patient care. And that was one of the things that brought my vision to light with my home care company, and wanted to make sure that I'm covering boundaries to be able to keep my people at home, but not just keep them at home, but give them the quality home care services that they need so they can stay out of the nursing home. So in that journey of going through with long-term care, I've seen so many things from being, again, so many of us, sometimes I was the only aide on the floor. All right. Sometimes we were even told by higher management to put stars near the residents that family come in often so we can pay special attention to them. So that means if I have 30 patients there and these 5 people have loved ones that's coming all the time for them, I needed to make sure that I pay close attention to those 5. All right. Which broke my heart. Um, Also, families. Sometimes family would come in and they would be so disrespectful to the caregivers on the floor that's working, because they have no idea that this caregiver has 20 to 30 patients. So I do want to leave you some gems when you're going into those facilities and looking at your loved one, and you go in there and see that something isn't done, because sometimes we are thrown on the under the bus from our nurses. Our nurses know that we're short of staff. Our nurses know we have 20 to 30 residents to take care of. Our nurses also know that, hey, we might just done a round on that client, but this person might be on Lasix or something and going to the bathroom continuously. So one thing I want you to look for is look and see how many workers are on the floor, right? When you go in to visit to find out if this is a facility that your loved one should be going to, pay attention. How many nurses on the floor? How many caregivers are on the floor? How do things look? The smell, all right? Because some of the facilities, when you walk in there, you can tell that things are not right because of the cleanliness and the smell of the facility. All right. So something's wrong, because if we're giving effective patient care and good patient care, you should see staff moving around, a nice amount of staff. You should be greeted a certain way when you go in there. All right. I'm not talking about the show they put on. All right. I'm talking about a natural greet. And also, because we're delivering awesome patient care, you should not smell urine and bowels when you're walking down the hallway. All right. So they are signs that that may not be a good facility for your parents. Okay. So I want to really, really touch base on that CNA side, because often we are mistreated. Often we are asked to do things that we should not do. Often our residents are not able to get that good quality care again, just because we don't have the capacity to do so. So, guys, what patient care means to me, or caregiving means to me, because I look at every one of my residents um, or clients. I'm gonna say clients now as well because I'm out of the field, but I'm in. I still have my home care company. I look at them as they are a family member, and I make sure that we're delivering quality services, right? They are a person. They deserve to be loved and they deserve to have dignity, all right? So when I'm going through and training my staff or going into even working in that nursing facility, I had a few things that I had to do to in that facility that I had to try to overcome to make my mark, right? To be able to work in that facility because I've been in trouble because I spent too much time with the client or resident, I want to say. So they told me, no, you have to go and do this, and this is what you have to do. But the caregiver in me knew that when this client had went to the bathroom and got their sheets wet, that I needed to make sure that I do another wash and change the sheets and do the whole works. But oftentimes we're told by upper management that we don't have time to do that. So I want to leave that with you when you're looking and how important family members just loving their relatives in their family and being there for them. And I understand that everyone cannot be home to care for a loved one. But if you're going to put your family in a facility, try to make sure you do your research and ask important questions because that is going to show you and try often to come see your loved one to find out what they're going and talk up for them because sometimes they're mistreated and they're not going to talk up for themselves. They don't want matters to be worse because when you leave, they are still there. So we get a lot, even in home care. You know, I made it my point to really be able to contact my clients and find out what's going on. How is the caregiver doing in that home? Are you happy? What is her strengths? What is their weaknesses? Because I want to make sure that I'm matching my caregiver with the correct patient. I also want to make sure if there's any training that I need to do to make sure that um, that excellent caregiving or excellent patient client care is being given while they're in that home, all right? And so you want to definitely get to know who is working with your loved one, right? And have a level of respect when you're asking questions and going into the facilities, because sometimes it is so overwhelming working in the nursing home. You're loaded with clients. You have family members yelling at you. You have people that need to be fed. I mean, it was times that I had 20 to 30 clients and I had 5 or 6 feeders. I had to deliver trays out to make sure everybody got their tray. Then something happened over here. The family is upset. So then I have to stop everything I'm doing to go and make sure that family member is satisfied. And then I'm late going to do something else for another resident. Um, it's overwhelming. So you have to know if you work in long-term care how to take care of yourself because some people do. And some people, it's like they want to be there because they enjoy long-term care. They enjoy taking care of people. And um, so I want to stress to them that take some time off. Some long-term care facilities allow you to request certain days off. Sometimes what I would do is I would plan my days off on the schedule and say, hey, I need these days off, especially depending on what unit you work on. Sometimes I will work on the dementia unit. Me personally love my dementia residents, but I cannot do that 5 days a week. I cannot do that on a 7 day stretch. I need time away. So what I would do is I could do 2 days and then I'll say, hey, if you got me the third day, put me on the other, on another wing or, put me doing something else and give me a couple days off and then go back into the dementia unit. So make sure you take care of yourself and talk up for yourself because if you do not talk up for yourself, then it's going to be very, very hard for you. If you start feeling burnt out, guys, I cannot say I've met some beautiful, lovely CNAs and nurses, but they got burnt out. They got burnt out. Find something else that you can do. Do not, I mean, because some of us are working double shifts because they're short of help. Some of us are coming in days off because they're short of help and we're exhausting ourselves. So do not do that. Find something else. What I used to do is I used to have a little PRN job somewhere else that was less stressful, that I could pick up my extra hours if I needed a break and just be able to do something else to keep me from being burnt out. Or plan your schedule to where you can take a lengthy vacation. Hey, I can work this many days straight, but then I can have 5 days off over here just to release. Prayer. Sometimes I would sit in the parking lot and just pray before I go in. Pray because you need to, no matter what else is going on, we can't panic. We have to stay focused because people depend on us. And we can't go in there with a bad attitude because our clients feel that attitude. They feel it. And when something is not right, they know that something is not right. It's times that I would go in and I my voice, just how I greet my clients would know, like, hey Iris, is something wrong with you? Because you didn't, do your thing today. You didn't say this or whatever Pacific. I had no clue that people that the residents were noticing little things like that, right? It's times that I would come in where I would hear them yelling my name. Is she here yet? Where is Iris? So they know who takes care of them and who doesn't. All right. So pay attention and definitely talk to them and say dad, or tell your actual loved one, who is your favorite staff member working here, and why is that your favorite? What do they do for you, and what are they doing that the other ones are not doing? Because maybe you can go up and say, hey, dad really likes when someone does this and this and this. If possible, can we tell the other staff members as well? Because it's very important, because one person can't work 24 hours a day. So it's very important that we don't look at each other as caregivers or families as one's better than the other one, when sometimes it's just a training. It's just time to get to know. And sometimes it's hard to get to know people when you have 30 clients. So you have to make that time and fit in to each one of those clients to say, hey, this is learn more about them so I can know what they like and how they like it. Um, so I want to just say, guys, being a caregiver, and because we're all going to get old one day, right? We're not going to stay young as much as we want to stay young. We're not. We're going to get old. We're going to need some help, and we have to be the change that we want to see. So a lot of us really do wear our hearts in our hands, and we really go in there because we want to do an awesome job. I'm not going to say everybody is like that, but I'm going to say a lot of us are. Money, it shouldn't be the forefront of your attention when you're in this field. Of course, we need money to live, we need money to pay our bills, but this has to be something that you're passionate about, that you enjoy doing, or things are not going to be right for you or the resident or client that you're serving, because they can feel that. So that's one thing that I really love about what I do. Even in long-term care, I had to sometimes I used to put a little gospel music in one of the earphones, and just one of them I could still hear everything, but I would just get in the zone, because I know when I go in here, sometimes I don't even know what I'm going to walk into, right? Sometimes I may have a caregiver that she does a good job at the beginning, and in the middle of the shift, she just gives up and say, hey, we're not doing nothing else. So I would have go in there and go into a mess, right? And I have to be mentally prepared for that mess, whether I'm working an 8-hour shift or a 12-hour shift. So sometimes just listening to a little music when I'm walking in there, I'm ready to take on this challenge, right? Sometimes I would go through things because in a lot of facilities you have a bath schedule for each client. And some of our clients like baths more often. So they're not always able to get that in a facility either. So families need to know that, all right? Because they have a bath schedule. But I would have clients that would say, hey, I know I had a bath yesterday, but I really want a bath today. Sometimes I would stay late and make sure that need is being met. And oftentimes, I've gotten in trouble written up because those needs were met. All right. So we definitely got to do some changing inside of long term care. So that started my journey. By me going through 14 years of working in the field from long-term care and from the hospital and ICU and PCU and reading cardiac heart rhythms, I knew that my passion was to keep people at home and to make sure they have their dignity in getting the best patient care as possible. So we have opened our facility, Karen Hart's Telecare, to deliver that. And we innovated our company so we can be able to try to assure that our clients, whether it's an electronic caregiver or a real caregiver, we're doing everything to meet our clients' needs. So again, guys, I am so passionate about what I do, and that's what caused me to want to speak up and speak today on what we have to do with that long-term care because a lot of people don't know. A lot of people don't know. So when you walk into that long-term care facility, really look, pay attention, look for signs and cues, and really get to know the staff on the floor as well. All right, because you would know why things aren't being done or who's doing what or how can it be done and then talk up, go to administration, complain that it's not enough people working on the floor. What can you do? Um, because money is being paid there, right? So they should be able to do what they need to do. And unfortunately, nursing is one of those professions that we're really always short of help. But a lot of times facilities can change some of that. They can change it by offering better pay, by offering bonuses to people when they come in on their extra shifts, and also by ensuring that everyone is treating each other with dignity and respect. It was oftentimes on the floor that nurses and RNs would treat CNAs poorly because they felt like we were nobody. They didn't want to listen, even though we're the one that's taking care of the client. We are the sole source of that happiness. When something is happening and that client is declining or something's going on, we are one of the first ones that see it. We're the ones that gives the nurse the information and say, "Hey, I think this need to be checked because this is what's going on, and this is not her. She's not herself. Something's wrong." Right? So, I hope that me talking today gave you a different look or outlook or when you're going into these facilities and give you the voice to stand up and talk up. All right. I am also a bestseller author. I'm an injustice advocate. I believe that injustice is inside our home care system. It's one of our biggest injustices. And we're working on a project right now called Injustice in Medical. Getting those stories out there and hoping that people will be comfortable with sharing those stories so we can fight for change. We can fight for change because some things are state need to be changed on the state level, and some things we need to be enforced inside of the facilities that's taking care of our loved ones. So again, guys, if you have any questions for me or want to reach out to me, I am on social media as Dr. Iris Wright. I am my company is Karen Hart's Telecare, and my website is chtelecare.com if you want to see what we do. Because we're definitely changing and innovating home care to make home care just a overall better place, better thing to do. And I'm iris-wright.com. Um, as my books come in, I do have books. One's coming out, Women in Nursing, and I do have again Injustice in Medical. That's going to be coming out soon. So guys, thank you so much for allowing me on this platform. Thank you, Ms. Cheryl, for allowing me to share my story and my experience in the long-term care sector as a CNA.
Do not fear. Sherelle is here. Do not fear. Do not fear, baby. I'm coming. I'm coming. So all is well. Dr. Iris Wright. Come on, sis. That was beautiful. Dr. Iris Wright, this is her first time presenting on the platform with the conference. So she'll definitely be on the team moving forward. We're going to work together and collaborate with her as well as others that's presenting their topics today. I'm telling you right now, Dr. Iris, let me be the first to apologize to you as a nurse because I see how my colleagues, they do the CNAs a little different. So let me apologize on behalf of them, right? For me, I love CNAs. I love what you do. I love that you take care of the patients. And I love collaborate with my CNAs. I take my CNAs goodies in, so they love to see me coming. Okay. So as a nurse, I do apologize for their behavior because you just said it. You guys are the sole source of what's going on with that patient. The nurse cannot be there all the time, and we know that you guys are there on the unit. You guys are there taking care of the patients morning, noon, and night. So thank you so much for even being a CNA. But God has so much more for you than just being a CNA, right? You are going to different places. You're doing different things now. But thank you so much, Dr. Iris Wright. God is going to use you tremendously in this healthcare industry and also in your workplace. You're going to spearhead some things with the CNAs where you work at. So there we have, and Dr. Iris Wright is our first CNA. So it's something about being the first, Dr. Wright. You're the first CNA, and God has answered my prayer that I have been looking for a CNA to come on the platform and share about what's the insight on what's going on. I know what's going on from a nurse perspective, but a CNA can only tell their story their way. You see what I'm saying? So thank you so much for sharing that, Dr. Iris Wright, and we will definitely be connecting with you. Check the comments over the comments section, and thank you. Just thank you for what you're doing. Continue to be the best CNA that you can be, and definitely we'll be connecting with you in the future.
Thank you.
My pleasure. My pleasure. Okay, there you have it. It's just so different. I am so glad that Dr. Iris Wright came on the platform to share with us what's going on in the long-term care spectrum, because we do know that patients, and it is not a secret that patients, family member that come visit, they get better care, they get exceptional care because that family member is not going for it. We put our family member in here to what? Be cared for, right? We're paying the money. However you're getting paid, you're getting paid. So we expect the best care. We're not concerned about all the other patients. We're concerned about our loved one. And that's just the how they come in. Everyone that come in, even in the hospital, I can talk about from the hospital perspective because it's all across the board. Come into a hospital, when they come into a nursing home, long-term acute care, whatever facility it is, their loved one is the only one you should be taking care of. And that's real talk because it's real in these facilities now. We can go on and on and on talking about the pros and cons in healthcare, but we're going to put a plug right there. Continue, if you can, to take care of your loved one at home. We know that home care is the best care to take care of your loved one. Although we do understand that some people are not able to take care of their loved one 24/7, we understand that. But even in that aspect, get some support, join support groups, have someone come in that can come in and really take care of your loved one and give you some respite care. We all need respite care. I'm telling you, I be getting mines in. I don't do no overtime, no OT, no DT. I don't do none of that. Why? Because I'm keeping myself, number one, beautiful. Number two, it's not God's plan. Well, number one, it's not God's plan for us to be working day in and day out. That's not the plan. We have to rest our mind, body, and soul, baby. We have to give it rest. So with that being said, I'm going to let the next wonderful speaker come up because she's going to share with us how to relax doing all of this, right? Doctor, this is perfect time. And Dr. D, I call her Dr. D, and she is the doctor of relaxation. Come on up here, Dr. D. Dr.
Hey.
D. Come on, was that perfect introduction right there?
Yes.
That was like perfect introduction because right about now we need some relaxation. So that was like perfect timing, right? So I'm just going to
Yes,
share
exactly.
a little bit about Dr. Dietrich L. Gorman. She was born in a Midwestern city in Indiana. She graduated with her bachelor's degree from Purdue University, master's degree at Indiana University, and attended medical school in Stratford, New Jersey, at the Rowan University, where she earned her doctorate. She was back to her home. She went back to her hometown in Fort Wayne. I know about Fort Wayne because that's where I'm at. I know about little Fort Wayne, Indiana. She went back there to complete her family medical residency. Come on, Fort Wayne, Indiana. Out of her residency, she was recruited to a small West Texas town where she currently practices her medicine, full scope, pediatrics, adults, inpatient, outpatient, old patient, OBGYN. OBGYN. So she's well rounded in the family medical. I'm telling you, family medical practice is real. So during her years of acquiring her education and practicing medicine, not only did her responsibilities and life experiences increase, but so did her stress levels. Come on now, this is real talk right here. All of that she was doing, and we all deal with this every day, increase in stress. So from all this stress level, she got to a breaking point and realized that she couldn't continue like the way she was going. And she wanted to help others, stressed out workers, not get to that point. So this is why Dr. Dietrich Gorman is on our platform today. She decided to learn how to better relax, implement strategies in the workplace for stress reduction. Being a physician, she knows the health benefits of managing chronic stressors. She has dedicated herself in helping those individuals who are stressed, like myself in some instances, and you that's in the audience. She's going to help us strategize today to live more healthy, productive, and a fulfilled life. Dr. D, come on, sister. You got to bring it to us. We need some relaxation right about now. I'm going to give you the stage
Excellent.
of your story. I'm telling you right now, we need some relaxation, baby. So your story,
Yes.
your way, Dr. D. You have the stage.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you, Ms. Sherelle, for that introduction. And hello, everyone. Good day. And I am just so happy that I could be with y'all here today, hearing these amazing talks. I mean, Ms. Sherelle, we really need to push people watching the replay on this because it has really been a phenomenal conference. Well, I'm America's relaxation doctor. I'm a physician. I'm a business owner. I'm a caregiver. I'm a human. And yes, like all of you, I have stress. And in fact, I have multiple stressors. But just backing up my story a little bit brief, Ms. Sherelle said some of it. I was born in Fort Wayne, Indiana. I've always wanted to be a doctor since an early age. And at that point, I knew that you just needed to be smart and you wanted to help people. So I went to school, I went to college, I went to grad school, I worked hard, studied, and I didn't get in initially. But during that time, my mother's health actually started to go down. I would happily help her go to her doctor's appointments and do what I can do to help her. Also at that time, and my auntie and my uncle, which were also older, they needed help. And so I would go by and help them out as much as I could, anywhere from cutting grass, taking them to the grocery store, just kind of helping out wherever I needed to. And I did all this while preparing to go into medical school again, applying again. Thankfully, at that time, my mom's health improved and stabilized. And I was actually, during this time, I was actually even a CNA. So, Ms. Sherelle, you have two CNAs on the panel. I used to work in nursing homes, and Dr. Wright, I totally understand the struggle. And I feel honestly that's what's made me even more compassionate. I'm very compassionate in general, but when I see those aides struggling in the hospital, there's nothing for me to go over there and help them, turn a patient, do whatever. So I totally understand that. And so being a CNA definitely has struggles. But trying to get into medical school, I was a CNA all the while preparing myself for medical school. Well, after a few years of living life and applying to medical school, I finally got in. I took a trip to New Jersey. And so the first 2 years of medical school, they're basically in the classroom. And the second 2 years are clinicals where you have the patient interactions. And yes, I did have an excellent time. There was many ups and downs, but it was a wonderful experience. So after I graduated medical school, I went back home to Indiana and I did my 3-year family medicine residency. And I know things are different now, but back then it really didn't encourage or promote us taking care of ourselves as far as like stress reduction. And residency at that time was kind of like something to get through. You learn as much as you can about taking care of patients, but it really wasn't stressed about, making sure you take care of yourself. But again, like I said, it's different now. And I'll admit that, back then when I had the time, I would go get pedicures and, maybe have a massage here and there. And, while this was wonderful, there are many times, and of course now you can appreciate it in hindsight, to perform self-care and do some relaxation techniques. Well, after residency, I was recruited to where I am now, West Texas. But here as the attending, that's where the buck stops. I'm running things from the clinic, the hospital, being on call. And yes, it was definitely stressful. And I was a caregiver. My mom and my older sister actually moved to West Texas from Indiana. And I would take my mom to her doctor's appointments, help out where I could. And at that point, she was pretty independent, but still needed some help. And this is still while practicing medicine full-time, full scope. And, with my mom over the time, her kidneys grew weaker, and soon her heart got weaker, and she was actually scheduled to have heart surgery, but then she passed away before this was done, and which of course was devastating. And currently I'm a caregiver to my older sister who also lives where I am in Texas, taking her to her doctor's appointments, helping her with things like that need to get done. And, I kind of share all this background story because out of years of practicing medicine with the responsibilities and frustration, my stress just kept getting worse. I kind of got to this breaking point, poor coping skills, getting an attitude, not being the person who I know I am normally, bubbly, happy, cheerful, go lucky and stuff. But I actually got to this point where I was honestly thinking about, would it be better if I wasn't around? I'm just putting it out there. And I hated that. I hated that feeling. And I really realized that this is not the point where I wanted to be. This is not how I wanted my life to be. And I didn't want to live my life this way. And I knew things had to change. Furthermore, as a family medicine physician, I see what unmanaged stress does to people. Not only am I a caregiver, I have multiple patients who are caregivers and who are quite frankly stressed out. Okay, stressed out because they may feel alone. They don't have no help. They're caring for a loved one who they see is declining, many different reasons. And although the cause of the stress can be varied, the results are still the same. Chronic unmanaged stress causes problems. It causes big problems. Your work can suffer, your relationships suffer, your health suffers, you suffer. And so I charge myself as America's relaxation doctor to help those individuals, including caregivers, learn about incorporating relaxation into their lives so that they can thrive and not just survive. So my talk is going to be about 5 relaxation tips for the caregiver. And before I start, I wanted to just share with y'all a few statistics. And the information I'm sharing is coming from a few different sources like the CDC and AARP. So listen to this. 11% of caregivers state that their role has caused their physical health to decline. There are physical manifestations to their unmanaged stress. 45% of caregivers report chronic conditions, including heart attacks, heart disease, cancer, diabetes, and arthritis. Caregivers have a 23 higher level of stress hormones and 15% lower level of antibody responses than non-caregivers. 10% of primary caregivers report that they are under physical stress from the demands of assisting the loved ones that they care for physically. And then women who spend 9 hours or more a week caring for a spouse increase their risk of heart disease by 100%. That's 100. So being a woman caring for your spouse increases your risk dramatically of acquiring heart disease. 72% of caregivers report that they had not gone to the doctor as often as they should. And 58% of caregivers state that their eating habits are worse than before they assumed the role as a caregiver. And then finally, the final statistic is caregivers between the age of 66 and 96 have a 63% higher mortality rate than non-caregivers of the same age. I mean, y'all, these are some amazing statistics. I mean, just mind-blowing. But let me just go back just a little bit and briefly talk to y'all about stress. So, short-term stress can actually be a good thing in a matter of speaking, and I can place it into context. If you need to flee from danger, save yourself or save others, if you need to defend yourself, if you need to give a presentation, something that's short-term, if you need to meet a deadline, stress can actually help you with this. But after this acute or short-term stressor is over, your body needs to go back into its calm state. But then there's chronic stress. Let me take you through a possible caregiver scenario. Okay, so as a caregiver, whatever stage you're in, if you're like first starting out, you may be enthusiastic, you may be happy about caregiving, you're gonna tackle on the world, you're gonna just save everybody, okay? But then over time, you might start thinking, well, this might not be everything that I signed up for. What am I doing? You didn't know things were gonna be like this. How are you feeling? You might have your own personal issue that you're going through. You may or may not have help or support. Then further on down the line, you just outright tired. You could be fed up. You could be stressed. You could be frustrated. I mean, chronic stress is really no joke. And there are plenty of reasons why you can be stressed as a caregiver. Caring for a spouse or other loved one, living with the person who needs care, caring for someone who needs constant care, just like 24/7 care, feeling alone, feeling helpless or depressed, really not being able to live the life that you intended because you're caregiving, money problems on top of all that, right? Then the uncertainty of not knowing the next day or even the next moment, what that's going to be like, spending many hours, having too little guidance from healthcare professionals, having no choice about being a caregiver. Like someone else mentioned, you might be taking care of someone that you didn't have the best life experience, but now you're in the role where you're having to care for them. And not having good coping skills or problem-solving skills of your own. And then feeling the need to give care at all time. Those are definitely reasons why you can be stressed. And then being subjected to those constant stressors and not being able to manage those stress responses is what actually causes the problem. And it's that chronic stress that can have those detrimental consequences. And honestly, chronic long-term stress can literally affect your physiology. It affects your health. It can, lower your immune system. You get those frequent colds, you're always sick. It elevates your blood pressure. It contributes to your heart disease and diabetes, affects your menstrual cycle. It affects your GI system. When you're upset and you're stressed, your whole body isn't just worried about digesting a meal. You're in that survival mode. You have low libido. You have the anxiety, the depression, the poor self-esteem. You even develop memory issues. So there's some signs of caregiver stress. But how do you know that you're stressed as a caregiver? Dr. Lord mentioned some things. But it's definitely worth repeating. You're increasingly frustrated. You're not happy. You just feel sad. You may overreact to things. Just little small things may set you off. Having frequent headaches or other pains or other health problems. It may be hard for you to concentrate. You may actually neglect your own needs and responsibilities. Missing your own medical appointments. You saw those statistics that I mentioned before. And then you might be feeling flat out fatigued or tired. You're not sleeping enough or you're sleeping too much. You feel isolated. You're gaining and losing weight. You're becoming easily irked or angry. That can totally happen. And then losing interest in the activities that you used to enjoy. Depressed, angry, and resentful. So many different things, drinking or smoking more. It's just so much, y'all. There's a lot more. But, needless to say, chronic stress can affect your work performance. And then finally, you may even be having to have another job, a job that you may be getting paid for in addition to being a caregiver. So your relationships suffer. You can understand every aspect of your life is affected by chronic unmanaged stress, which actually brings me to the crux of this talk. So I'm going to be sharing with y'all 5 relaxation tips. There are many, many more. And keep in mind that what may help one person may not be as effective for another person. So that's why it's important to learn about many different modalities to see what will be most beneficial for you. And also, please, please, please keep this in mind. An overwhelming majority of relaxation techniques are self-care practices. They are very, very helpful, but they do not address the stressors at the root of the stresses of the root of the problem. You're still a caregiver. You're still going through things, but it's the relaxation techniques that I'm going to share with you that will help you mitigate those detrimental effects of chronic stress for you. But you still have those stressors, okay? So we're going to get started. The first one is breath work, and you can write these things down, breath work. And in my humble opinion, breathing is the cornerstone of relaxation or stress management. Being able to slow your breathing, control your breathing is key. But why, you may ask? Why is that? Well, we have the sympathetic and the parasympathetic nervous system. So when you're in that fight or flight, sympathetic, stressed out mode, your breathing changes. It gets more shallow. It gets shorter. As your heartbeat increases, your respirations increase, your muscles tense up, all in preparation for that fight or flight response. And so there are different techniques that people use to deep breathe, and deep breathing actually helps activate the other part of your nervous system called the parasympathetic nervous system. And this signals to your body, hey, I'm calm, I'm chill, I'm safe, I can digest, I can relax. And so we're going to go through a demonstration today. So all of you out there who are listening or listening on the replay, you can still follow this. And we're going to be doing what's called box breathing. There's many different forms of deep breathing exercises. Box breathing can actually be particularly helpful when relaxing because you can do this at any time. Okay, it can be implemented before, during, after stressful experiences. And it uses 4 simple steps. It's titled box breathing because you want to visualize a box with 4 equal sides as you perform this exercise. And let's go ahead and start it. So, the box has 4 corners. We're going to inhale for 4 counts, hold for 4 counts, exhale for 4 counts, and then hold for 4 counts. Now, I can't see y'all out there, so we're just going to do it. And I want y'all to close your eyes and just kind of listen to my voice and hear my voice. And we're going to do this for 3 cycles. Okay, let's go. Close your eyes. You're going to inhale for 2, 3, 4, hold, 2, 3, 4. Exhale, 2, 3, 4. Hold, 2, 3, 4. Inhale, 2, 3, 4. Hold, 2, 3, 4. Exhale, 2, 3, 4. Hold, 2, 3, 4. One more time. Inhale, 2, 3, 4. Hold, 2, 3, 4. Exhale, 2, 3, 4. Hold, 2, 3, 4. Okay, you can open your eyes. This just calms it down a little bit, and you can do it anytime. I remember one speaker said she used to go into the restroom and turn on the fan and just scream to let out her frustration. But one of the things you can also do is you can box breathe. Go to the restroom. You got to go there anyhow for your natural duties. Do some deep breathing while you're in there. You can perform this anytime. Okay, the second relaxation technique is listening to music. I mean, music really has the ability to change the mood, whether it's calming music, it's upbeat, comforting. Listen to your favorites from back in the day. It really brings back those nostalgic times where things were good. It just makes you feel happy. It lifts your mood. And if you happen to be doing your caregiving activities in which you don't need to do a lot of talking, put on some music. You know, if you're in the presence of your person that you're caregiving for, put music on them for them to enjoy as well. And maybe even consider putting on music that they like, the type of music from like back in the day that can make them feel more calm as well. The next thing is taking an extra long shower. Running water is calming, it's soothing, it's therapeutic. It puts the water on those tense muscles, you know, and even place some drops of essential oil in the shower. It helps effervesce the whole bathroom. And this, you can use this moment as a time to talk to yourself or not, just enjoy the water, use a scented body wash, and then just smell that lovely fragrance, do some deep breathing in the shower, and just kind of relax and calm things down. The next one is actually some mini meditative moments. Now, I don't know if you've heard of this concept before, but what that is these are moments in time in your day that you can create and bring to you a sense of calm. And typically they are of short duration, but you can mindfully create a thought or perform an action, a brief action in that moment that will kind of recenter you, redirect your thoughts, and calm your mind. And you can actually do this as much as you want. Then you can stretch and move your body. Having chronic stress can wreak havoc on those muscles. It causes tension. It causes loss of range of motion, and of course, pain. I mean, a lot of people, when they're stressed, they're in that clenched state, shoulders up, clenching jaw. They're constantly thinking of things. You get that back pain, soreness, especially if you're in the caregiving role in which you're actually physically like turning your person you're caregiving for. So I'm going to urge you to learn how to incorporate some stretches as far as your relaxation techniques. Look at videos online to follow, even put them on your phone in which you can learn how to stretch out those muscles. And when it's like when you're in pain and having to caregive as well, I mean, it just makes it so much worse. Okay, so I want to give you a bonus too. I couldn't just stop where I am. Let me just give you a bonus. I want you to nourish your body and keep in mind that stress is definitely a different monster, but you need to give your body something to work with, right? Make the effort to eat as healthy as you can. And I know this isn't necessarily a relaxation technique, but it's very important, okay? Start incorporating like green smoothies into your diet. Supplement if you have to. B vitamins, among others, are great for dealing with your stress. And just try it daily for a week. Change your diet if you're not eating the best. Make a conscious effort to improve what you're putting into your body to give your body something to work with in these stressful times. There's nothing worse than having to perform or work when you are ill or when you are in pain. And yes, many of us have to do what we have to do, but no matter where we are in our health journey, let's just take an effort and make the best of it. Okay, so with all of that said, I thank you very much for your attention, but I'm not leaving without giving y'all a free gift, okay? If you are interested in learning many more relaxation tips for caregivers, I've actually created for this conference a free PDF called 25 Relaxation Tips for the Caregiver. I've only talked about a few today, but in addition to that, I'm giving y'all 25 more tips. It's free, okay? I want you to go to www.caregiverrelax.com, CaregiverRelax.com to get this valuable information, caregiverrelax.com. So I am Dr. Dietrich Gorman. Thank you for your attention. I'm a board-certified family medicine physician. I'm also known as America's Relaxation Doctor. I'm a best-selling author, and I'm a speaker. And I help those individuals learn how to incorporate relaxation in order to have a more healthy, happy, and productive life. I'll share with you these relaxation tips and a bonus. And as I mentioned, there's so many more. And if you'd like to take your relaxation further, I have best-selling books about a workplace stress and frustration. I have an inspirational coloring book to calm your mind. And I also have created a unique gratitude journal for purchase. Just go to drdietrichg.com. That's DRDEITRICKG.com. Thank you for your time, y'all. I really appreciate your attention. And I really hope that this provided some value for you. And just above all, remember to all you caregivers out there, you are a blessing to those you care for. Keep your head up and learn how to incorporate relaxation in your life. Thank you.
Come on through. Do not fear. Sherelle is here. I'm here. Let me tell you something, Dr. D. I'm telling you, that was over the top. Thank you so much. You know what? Okay, so I'm still stuck back here where you talked about the 5 tips, right? So the breathing, number
Yeah.
1. Number 3, I took in number 3. Take that extra long shower. But let me tell you, it's not a shower. I slipped all the way down in the tub, baby, with the water. Come on, because it's just so. That's what you have to do, baby. You got to take care of you.
Yes.
So the shower, no, not the shower, baby. For some, it may be the shower. For me, it's
Yeah.
sitting in that water and just relaxation, baby. And I even put the little candles around. You see what I'm saying? 'Cause I'm telling you, I'm going
Yes.
all the way down. Then also, I'm telling you, it's just you just gave some real tips here. So I just want to just
Excellent.
reiterate some of them and what I do. The extra long shower, no, we sitting in the water, baby. And then the one about stretch your body, nourish your body, eat the right food. I know this is what the body needs, baby. This is real tips here. These are real strategies. This is just not for caregivers. This is for
Right.
anyone. You don't have to be a caregiver. Like I shared with you earlier, we're all caregivers, whether you want to be or not. I don't care if you're going to the store for someone, if you're picking up their groceries, if you're talking to them on the phone, making an appointment, you are a caregiver. And they already said it's over what the number is still climbing. 53 million unpaid, and that's just in the United States. So I'm telling you right now, take care of you. We cannot reiterate enough of taking care of yourself. We can say that over and over and over and over. But until you get it, until you understand it, until you know you need the help, you're just going to keep saying it. But for Miss Sherelle, thank you so much, Dr. D, because I'm taking all
Certainly.
that in and some, because life
Thank
is
you.
real. Dealing with stress is real. And just so you know, stress has superseded any chronic illness now. Any high blood pressure,
I
any
can see it.
COPD, anything, diabetes, stress has taken over. So understand what you're doing with your life. I de-stress. I don't do anything extra. That's my de-stressor. It works for me. You got to choose what works for you to de-stress you. I always tell people, I cannot be everything to everybody, but I can be something to someone. I'm not doing everything. God did not call me to do everything for everybody. But he did call me to do something for someone. And that's where I'm at. And that's the story that I'm sticking with. How y'all think I'm gonna keep myself beautiful out here? Come on now. I can't be I cannot be out here doing everything. So y'all better relate to what I'm saying, okay? Ladies,
Thank
gentlemen,
you.
that's just me. I am literally sitting down at the table and strategizing what I need to be doing for 2024. And it's not everything. Thank you so much, Dr. D. Baby, you came in right on time. The way I set this schedule up, it was perfect timing. And so
Yes, thank you.
you, Dr. D. We look forward to working with you and get a 25 bonus tips as well.
Thank you.
Okay. Y'all heard it first from Dr. D. That is our relaxation doctor. That is our relaxation doctor. Dr. D have been on the platform for the last year or two, but I'm telling you, she came in with exactly what we needed. We need to de-stress and relax. I'm telling you right now, I'm not doing everything. I'm not doing it. I'm not doing it. You can feel any kind of way you want to about Miss Sherelle, but like I shared with you, God didn't call me to do everything for everybody, but He did call me to do something for somebody. Dr. D and all our other caregivers that have presenters that have went forth, thank you all for your presentation. I'm telling you, write down something that someone has said, because someone on this platform today has resonated in your spirit. And all of them have resonated. I have my notes. I take notes all the time because everyone is coming with something different every time they come to the stage. But guess what? We're not quite through. Hold on a minute. Hold on a minute. We got Mr. Al Lyman. This is the age optimizer. For all of you saying you having aches and pains and you aging and you getting older and all this other stuff going on with you, we got someone just for you. Al Lyman. Come on up here, Al. Come on up here. Al Lyman. Oh my goodness. This brother right here. He's been traveling.
Let me unmute that mic. Let's
Doctor,
start there.
I call him a doctor.
Howdy,
He is
howdy.
the age optimizer. Okay. So yes, Al is going to anchor us in, baby. He is going to talk about live stronger in your second half. So Al, let me share something with you about Al. Number one, he doesn't look his age, and I'm gonna let him share his age with you. He does not look his age. He does not act his age. And then again, how do you look at a certain age? Al is going to share with you how he's living longer, living life great in his second life. From an age of 25, Al already knew. He took a cue from Walt Whitman when he said, be curious, not judgmental. Be curious, not judgmental. That's good. He has always wondered why some people live a healthy life until death and others suffered from chronic, debilitating illnesses. Why was that? As a result, at the tender age of 25, he made it a conscious decision to be healthy. At the age of 25, a concept called squaring the curve of lifespan versus health span. Sadly, his dad's declining health and eventually brain cancer diagnosis that claimed his life at the young age of 65 illuminated this concept, inspiring Al to turn up the volume on his own journey to optimal health. One day, while watching the Hawaiian Iron Man on TV with his daughter, he impulsively announced, I'm going to do this. I'm going to be the Iron Man. That monumental decision propelled him to complete 9 Iron Man triathlons. Wow. While proudly displaying his Make Him Proud Am tattoo, honoring his father. Wow. Al, I'm telling you right now, you are definitely the Iron Man. I'm going to let Al share his story his way. He's going to anchor us in. Al is our last speaker for the day. But listen, don't leave because he has something to share with you. Do you want to live a great life in your second half? Listen to what Al has to say. Al is going to talk to us about age well and live great. 3 successful tips. Go ahead, Al. Take it away.
Well, Cheryl, thanks so much for having me. I can't tell you how excited
and honored I am, honestly, to share the stage with so many great speakers. And there's been so much fantastic information that's been shared to this point. And it's information and knowledge and wisdom, not just for folks that we are caring for naturally, but also for the caregivers themselves. And that can't be overstated, because as has been eloquently said earlier, it's about caring for ourselves, taking care of our health, doing all we can so that we can, truly be there for others, when they need us. When I think about what I would like to share today, it reminds me of a story of one of my favorite movies. I know our listeners everybody has a favorite movie that they'd like to watch over and over again, or that has a message that really resonates with them. Well, one of those movies for me is The Shawshank Redemption. There's a quote from that movie that I think really embodies what I want to share with everybody today. And I know most of our listeners have seen that movie. It when it was released, it wasn't a huge hit, but it has since become a beloved movie for so many because of the messages and the story. So there's a moment in the middle of the movie where Andy and Red are sitting on the ground, leaning up against the wall, and they're talking about someday getting out of prison. And Andy shares with Red his dream for the future of spending the rest of his days in a city on the coast of Mexico, a place he describes as warm with no memory. Does anybody out there remember the name of the city? Soantaneo. So as Andy shares this dream with Red, the music is pensive and Andy's eyes are sparkling. He's got this sanguine, almost giddy smile on his face, describing to Red this future he's envisioning, hoping for, dreaming of. Which is ridiculous if you think about it. They're both imprisoned with very little chance of ever getting out. So exasperated, Red finally says to Andy, I think you should stop doing this to yourself. These are shitty pipe dreams. Mexico's way down there and we're in here. And that's the way it is. And Andy's just sitting there, gritting his teeth, and you can see this resolve, which is oozing out of him. Yeah, right, he says. It's down there, and I'm in here. It's just the way it is. I guess it comes down to a simple choice, really. Get busy living or get busy dying. And I think that quote really frames what I think we've all talked about to this point today, which is this idea of how do we find a way to get up every day and get busy living rather than to die a slow, gradual death before our actual demise, which I think is more common now than ever. In my book, Age Well and Feel Great, I wrote that I believe most of us, or many of us, are dying those slow deaths before our actual demise. Sometimes it's cognitive. We all know those that are suffering with some form of dementia. Sometimes it's functional. We all know folks that lose their ability to move freely and participate in life and enjoy, the ability to get out there and visit with friends and travel and do the things that we love. And sometimes that death before our demise is emotional, and that comes from loneliness and isolation. And when we're suffering this early death before our demise, it sucks the joy out of life. We're no longer able to participate and do the things that we love with the people that we want to do them with. And as I sit here today, right now, I can tell you, Ms. Sherelle mentioned how I lost my dad. He passed 23 years ago from an awful, insidious brain cancer, a glioblastoma, at the too young age of 65. And here I am. I'm about to turn 64 this week, and I've been struggling with this head cold all week, and I'm feeling a lot older than my years. But the reality is, this was the same. I'm the same age that my dad was diagnosed with this brain cancer, and he unfortunately aged at a very fast rate of speed for a lot of different reasons. And I think he did the best that he could with what he knew at the time. And certainly when we look at earlier generations, you know, the onset of processed convenience foods and all kinds of changes that have happened over the last 40 to 50 years that have dramatically changed how we live our lives. And not all of it in a very good way. It might be more convenient, but a lot of less than beneficial changes have occurred. So I lost my dad at a very young age. And on the flip side of the coin, my mom is 93. She turned 93 in August. And I know when I mention my mom to so many folks and the fact that she's still alive today at 93, that first reaction is, wow, that's amazing. That's great. You know, anyone that lives till 93, that's got to be wonderful. But the truth is, these years have not been easy years for my mom. And I would argue that, well, I'll just simply share that I had a conversation with my mom last night. And she sadly mentioned to me, because she's now living in a convalescent home. We're unable to care for her at home any longer. She's lost her ability to be mobile. She's now bedridden 24/7 and in a significant amount of pain. And so taking, you know, narcotics on a 24/7 basis. And she shared with me something that was so sad. She said, they're talking about giving me drugs now because they say I need to control my anger. And she said, I am angry. I don't want to be living here. I don't want my life to end this way. And this is the challenge that we all face as caregivers, as people that we care for. We can't always determine how we want, you know, how the end of our life is going to end. You know, we have a vision, as Andy did in the movie. He saw himself living the rest of his days in the city on the coast of Mexico. But the reality is we all have a vision for our future, and it doesn't always play out the way that we hope. And I don't think there's a place that I could go to more than this, a circle of amazing and wonderful people here with this caregiver conference, because everybody can so relate to this idea that very often the way our life actually flows out is very different than the way that we envision it. So as Cheryl mentioned, when I was 25, I saw a lot of ill health around me. I saw people suffering, and I wondered why some struggle with chronic disease, some struggle with dysfunction, some are in pain, and others aren't. And I know there's a lot of mystery around why certain people get sick and others don't. But there's a lot that we do know. There's a lot that is no longer a mystery. So when I was 25, I made this conscious decision. I had this vision for myself of squaring the curve, which is to say to live my entire life in good health, free of disease and dysfunction. And then one day, maybe at the age of 110, go to sleep and not wake up the next day. After having done something fun that day with people that I love and that I wanted to be with. And I know there's so many listening right now that are thinking, Hal, that sounds great, but that's a pipe dream. That doesn't happen, you know, most of the time. And I would agree it doesn't happen most of the time, but I believe that it is possible, to the extent that I believe we can delay the onset of chronic disease. And really, at the end of the day, this is what we all need to hope for. This is the vision that we all need to have. If we can delay the onset of disease, we can reduce the period of suffering. we can reduce the period of extended, long-lasting caregiving that just sucks the life and the energy out of all of us. Because it isn't the weeks or the months, but it is the years that add up, where we can, sadly become resentful and angry, and our resources, financial and emotional and physical, are drained. And we're left not only with someone that we love, that we want to care for, who becomes a shadow of themselves, but we as caregivers become a shadow of ourselves. So I became passionate through all of these years about learning everything that I possibly could about how I could extend my health span, focusing on the quality of the years, not so much the length of my life, but the quality of those years, so that I could reduce and stave off the onset of disease and live the majority of my life in good health. And I've shared that in my book, Age Well and Feel Great. And I now coach aging and aspiring adults who want to take back control of their health and live stronger in their second half. Because to me, my friends, without good health, nothing else matters nearly as much. And I'm seeing this now with my mom. All of her financial resources are gone, hundreds, if not thousands of dollars a day to pay for caregiving. Of course, all of us in the family drained physically and emotionally. We focus our entire lives to earn and save and prepare for our retirement, and focus on those financial resources, only to see us have to turn around and give up those financial resources to try to achieve better health. So what can we do to give ourselves the best chance to live stronger in our second half, to extend our health span? We know the latest science shows us that 80% of our health outcome is because of our lifestyle. Our genetics play a role. Certainly, our DNA plays a role. Our family history plays a role. But we even know now about a field of science called epigenetics, which basically is a field of study that says our lifestyle, our internal and our external environment impact how our DNA and our genes are manifest, how they actually express themselves. So we know that it's, at the end of our day, it's our lifestyle. It's how we choose to live. It's the choices we make. It's the self-care that so many have talked about. It's the exercise we get or don't get. It's the food we eat. It's the stress we manage. It's the sleep we get or don't get. It's our dental health and our all kinds of other aspects of our lifestyle that impact the level of chronic inflammation in our body and the health of our gut microbiome and so many other factors. So I want to share 5 simple tips to help anyone who's interested to begin to turn their lifestyle around and start to develop some newer, better habits and start to really embrace self-care. And certainly, I want to give a huge shout out to Dr. Dietrich Gorman, who spoke right before me. The idea of using our breath and breathing to really reinforce recovery and rejuvenation and get out of that sympathetic nervous system fight or flight and come into more of a parasympathetic nervous system activity is so important. I know myself, I try to make sure that I sit each night and do some deep breathing techniques and really reinforce that idea of getting out of that anxious, adrenaline-driven sympathetic nervous system activity. All right, so here are 5 tips that I want to leave everybody with today. First, I want to suggest that we all remember how important our circadian rhythm is. And what I mean by that is we live in a world where there's a lot of artificial light. We're on our smartphones, we're on our computers till all hours of the night. This really disturbs our body's ability to know what time of day it is. And that disturbance in our circadian rhythm can really mess with our health in big ways. So here's my suggestion. First thing in the morning, when you get up, have a tall glass of water. Of course, visit the bathroom, do your thing, then get outside. Get outdoors, get some sunlight in your eyes. Start your day with natural light. And then on the flip side, I have a rule that I follow. I call it my 3-2-1 rule. 3 hours before bedtime, I stop eating. No more eating within 3 hours of bedtime for many reasons. Normalizing blood glucose, enhancing growth hormone release, and allowing my digestive system to calm down. 2 hours before bedtime, I stop drinking. And then most importantly, as it relates to our circadian rhythm, 1 hour before bedtime, I make sure no artificial light. I darken the house a little bit as much as possible. Get off the smartphones, get off the computers, get away from any artificial white light as much as is possible, which I know is difficult for caregivers. You know, if we're in certainly if we're convalescing or we're in homes where there's constant artificial light, this is one of the real challenges that we face. But that, I think, is an important first step. All right. Tip number 2. For today, I would suggest let's not snack. And we know that the science shows us that if we eat less frequently, we're going to be healthier. We can normalize insulin. We can normalize nutrient sensing proteins in our body that boost insulin, which certainly has a negative impact on our health. So I would ask everybody to just consider this. Focus on a shorter eating window during the course of your day and limit or eliminate any snacking. Tip number 3, and this might be the most important because I know we've talked about how stressful caregiving is and how we need to do all we can to reduce the stress of caregiving. Well, one of the best stress reducers is exercise. Unequivocally, when we move our body, when we raise our heart rate, when we work up a little bit of a sweat, it's a tremendous stress reliever and stress reducer. So I would ask everybody for today, get 5 minutes of continuous movement in your day. Start there. It's so important to start small, by the way. If you haven't exercised regularly, if you're not routinely going out and doing something physical, if you spend most of your day in a chair or by someone's bedside, then start small. Don't bite off too much. Don't bite off more than you can chew at any one time. Start small. So 5 minutes of continuous activity, could be walking, could be dancing, whatever it is, but try to move continuously for 5 minutes. Start there. Movement is life, my friends. Movement is life. When we stop moving, life comes to an end. So we need exercise. Exercise is so important for us, and we're not wired for it as a species. It is a struggle, but it's so important because when we move, we're basically giving our body the physical stress that it craves and that it needs to be healthy. All right, now next, I mentioned earlier to eliminate or at least reduce snacking. Unequivocally, I think perhaps the biggest single reason for our ill health in the society in which we live, here in the good old USA, is the amount of processed, industrialized food in our diet. If someone were to ask me, Al, what's one bit of advice that you could give to someone that would help them improve their health immediately, and that they would continue to feel the benefits of? I would say eat real food. I would say replace one kind of processed, packaged, industrialized food that we get from the middle of the grocery store. Replace one of those foods with something that is a real food that God made, that comes from the ground, or that comes from another animal source. When we look at food labels, we know that real food doesn't have a label, or it has a very short label. When we're looking at something like red meat, that's what we see. Red meat, that's it. When we look at processed, industrialized food, we see a long list of ingredients, all kinds of additives and preservatives, all kinds of processed sugars, all kinds of things that are added to the food to make it more addictive, and ultimately much more damaging for our health. So my friends, just think real food. Just replace one processed food that you're eating right now with something that is real. And certainly as we age, we need more protein. So we want to focus on protein as well. Look for good sources of protein. As we age, our bodies don't absorb protein as efficiently. It's not as bioavailable to us. So certainly your preferred source of dairy proteins, if you like to use a protein powder, whey is a great source. If you prefer vegetable sourced protein powder, pea can work well. The bottom line is, and certainly animal sourced foods are fantastic sources of protein. I consider myself a plant-based meat eater. I believe humans are omnivorous. I don't believe there's a bad food. I just believe there are bad habits. I think a large variety of foods is the way that we want to go. But the key thing to remember is processed food is insidious. It's dangerous. A lot of it is poisonous. It doesn't have a great impact on us in the moment, but over time, it really has a tremendous detrimental effect on our health by raising insulin levels, which is a master hormone in our body, elevates our blood glucose level, increases the chances of us becoming overweight or even obese. And so I would say it really does come down to eating real food and eliminating processed food. And then I would finish with this, just as Dr. Gorman mentioned, self-care. And even from the very first, the wonderful couple who launched our conference today, they started off so eloquently in speaking about self-care and the idea that if we can't be the best versions of ourselves, if we're not healthy, if we're in pain, if we're struggling with a chronic disease, if we're taking multitudes of prescription medications that have an endless list of side effects, then we can't be there for the people that need us to be there for them. It all starts with us, with our health. We need periods of rest and relaxation, as Cheryl has said numerous times this morning and yesterday. You can't do it all. You cannot do it all. You've got to be willing to ask for help. But it really does start with loving yourself. And to me, self-discipline is the greatest form of self-love. So be more disciplined. Take time for yourself. Take time to step away and relax. Take time to exercise. Take a little bit of extra time to shop for healthier foods. Make that one replacement away from something processed to something that is real. And then just repeat that every day. Tiny little changes, repeated consistently, because it's all about consistently. That's the secret sauce that everybody's looking for. Not massive changes, but consistent habit changes can reform us and reform our health. So there you go. My name again is Al Lyman. You can find me at theallyman.com. I've also got half a dozen exercise programs for anyone and everyone at my website, pursuitathleticperformance.com. You can find my book, Age Well and Feel Great, The Proven Path to Solving the Aging Puzzle, on Amazon or on my website, theallyman.com. Of course, you can find me on Facebook and Instagram, on Twitter as Coach Al. I love to hear your success stories. And of course, I'm passionate about helping all of you to become the best versions of yourself. Because remember, my friends, without good health, nothing else matters. Nothing else matters nearly as much, no matter how much money we have, how many friends, loved ones, family, social interactions, all of those things. They're so important to us, but the life is drained from them when we're suffering and in pain. It all starts with good health with each of us. Cheryl? I hear you there, my dear.
Do not fear. Do not fear. Do
I
not
know
fear,
it's
Sherelle.
technology. You know me, I could just keep going and going and going and going, but I
Right.
already know
Go ahead.
we're running about 20 minutes late here, so.
No. You did wonderful. Timing is perfect. Timing is everything, right? Oh my goodness, Al. You have really anchored us in. Did he not anchor us? Can I get some applause in the audience? Can I get some hands? I don't know how this thing going, but can we get some hands? Applause for everyone. Everyone came up here today. Y'all did the darn thing, okay? Y'all was on fire today, and you're closing out very well. So this is it. This is what we did today. Al, thank you so much. Let me tell you something about some of these steps. I am definitely doing that dancing. I'm increasing my protein. I'm on that plant diet, but some of that meat don't really, it's okay. I'm not really a meat lover. However, I'm learning salsa, dancing.
Cheryl.
Right? Oh yeah, I'm moving for
Cheryl,
real, for real.
I just want to say one more thing.
Yes.
I don't know if anyone else has said anything to this point, but I think you're absolutely amazing. The fact that you have put all of this together, poured your heart and soul into sharing knowledge and wisdom and advice for so many caregivers out there and those that they love and are caring for. And I just want to say thank you so much for all that you have done to bring us all together here today, because it's an honor and a privilege to be here and to share. But I just think you are one amazing lady.
Thank you, Al. Wow. It's just so much. Y'all have just filled my heart today. And this is Saturday. We just getting started with the month of November, really. And you all have just, y'all just came and did it. I received your compliment, Al. And this is what it's all about. It's all about everyone coming together, sharing your story. How would they know what you do if you don't come share it? This is the platform for it. Global Caregiver Speakers. This all we do is caregiving. I do other things. This is what God had me doing. In the meantime, I'm going to bring everyone up to the stage. This is our grand finale. I want everyone to share something with the audience, inspire our audience, inspire and motivate our caregivers. Because there's someone right here today that heard what you said, but they didn't hear what you said. So I want everyone to share some words of wisdom, because our caregivers are going through some things. things that we don't even know about and things that we do not even hear about. So we're going to share with our colleagues, people that we work with, people in the audience, share one sentence, one word of wisdom, of motivation, of inspiration to our caregivers. Al, I'm going to start with you and we'll just go around. So these
Well,
caregivers is having a hard time.
I will say I've already been rambling on here for quite a long time, and I want to make sure that everyone else gets a chance to chime in here. But I will certainly reiterate what I said earlier, which is the hardest thing for each of us as caregivers is to put ourselves first, because we know that others need us, and there's so many things to do and it never ends. But we have to care for ourselves first. We have to give ourselves the best chance to be healthy so we can be what we need to be for others. It's the hardest thing to do, but it's the most important. Thank you to everybody, by the way. Wonderful information. Honored to be here with you.
Thank you, Al. Thank you. Everyone did phenomenal today. Over the top today. Dr. Lord, go ahead.
Yes, my last word is the transformation in healthcare, as Dr. Wright so eloquently presented, and as the transactional dementia intelligence model is also now in practice. We need to do that, and it's going to take all of us, because we're all experiencing the same kind of bad services and warehousing of our elderly, and I don't want any of my family to go through that. When my husband was in skilled nursing and even assisted living, I had to be there every day. And I had to control his treatment and his services as his pack leader. And I want people to know that you are the pack leader as a family caregiver. Don't give that up. That's a big position. And Dr. Wright and I hope we get together, because we have a lot to share, a lot in common. Thank you. Thank you for this opportunity. Thank you, Cheryl, for what you do. It's unbelievable. I appreciate it.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Lord. Okay, next. You don't mute. Everyone come off of mute. Everyone is on mute.
Hi, guys.
You come off the mute for a minute.
Hi, guys. Thank you so much. This was an awesome conference. One word of wisdom I would say is making sure that you're providing the best excellent care to your clients or residents when they're in the care home, and making sure that we're following up and asking questions and paying attention to detail in certain situations, as if we have to put our loved one into the nursing home or into a facility too, and have grace on what the staff is going through as well, because some things is really out of our control, is above. So we need voices. Our voices are powerful and we can create change together, but change won't happen if people just ignore all the signs. So we really need your help to step up. So people, we have clients that have no family, that has no other choice but to be in that type of situation, and they deserve the best quality care as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Wright. Thank you, Dr. Wright. Dr. Iris.
Thank you.
Dr. Joe.
Thank you, Minister Sharif, for inviting me to your stage.
Thank you.
One thing I really, really want to leave with you guys is remember, be mindful of your needs and your emotions. Your mental health does matter. Be intentional of what you're doing and how you're doing it. Making sure that you check in on yourself, your mental well-being, your mental status, making sure you get the help that you need and seek the help that's going to benefit you as a caregiver, so that you can be the best you. And that's all I have to say.
Beautiful. Thank you, Dr. Joe. Dr. D.
Hey. Okay, so my final saying is,
yeah.
Okay, my final saying is, I want all the listeners out there to think of this number: 1. You are the only person with whom you're with 100% of the time. You only have one life. And while as a caregiver you serve others, one or many, it is very imperative that you keep this in mind. And going back to the stats that I shared earlier, the mere fact that you are a caregiver puts your health at risk in a different category as an increased risk of disease and mortality. So it's very imperative for you to consider the number 1. Learn to manage your stress effectively. And like I said earlier, as a caregiver, you are a blessing to others, and be a blessing to yourself, and learn to take care of yourself. So that's my final message.
Beautiful. Thank you. Okay, thank you, Dr. D. Miss Mary?
Yes, thank you, Sherelle, for inviting me to participate in this forum, this conference. It has been a blessing, and I'd like to give you all something from a force to reckon with. My mother, Louise Camille, who taught us one of the things, everybody basically touched upon it, Al said it, is that lifestyle. Lifestyle is 80%, he said, in terms of our health and longevity. Let me just share this with you. What she taught us was to put God first and have faith and have a prayer life. Drink at least 8 glasses of water a day. Get daily sunshine, natural air. Love much and love often. Laugh and humor. Maintain a positive base of friends. Exercise regularly. Work diligent with your natural skills, and maintain a clean mind, body, and soul. Those are some of the things she taught us. And she also taught us to share and help others wherever we could. And those are just some of the basics of a lifestyle. That's what I was raised with about my mother, Luella Camille for sure.
Thank you. Beautiful. Yes, thank you all so much. Thank you, Ms. Mary, for finalizing everything for us. And I just want to say, with everything that's going on in the world, there's only 4 types of people, 4 kind of people in the world, and 4 types of caregivers, right? Rosalind Carter said it best. And unfortunately, she has come down with dementia. The former First Lady, Rosalind Carter, Jimmy Carter's wife, she instituted and started caregiving. And so she just said in 4 words, in so many ways, there's only 4 types of people, caregivers. You're either going to be a caregiver, you are a caregiver, you will need a caregiver, but you don't want to be the one to what? Need a caregiver. You don't want to be the one that need a caregiver. So God is using us in all kind of ways and fashion to help others. Let's be the best caregiver ever in everything that we do. Continue to do what you're doing. Everyone is doing a great job here. I'm going to celebrate by playing our last video. If you can stick around, because I would love to hear your feedback from today. Thank you so much. And for our studio audience, those that's listening, connect with the speakers at any given time. And go on the Global Caregiver Speakers Facebook page and comment